You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1384 1384 Chapter 321 Young Acupoints, 5. As long as it was not fully opened, the young acupoints could still be closed. However, once it was fully opened, it might not be able to be closed at all. The young acupoints would devour everything, including your flesh and blood. This acupoint had the intention of forcibly unifying all the acupoints. It was not until May 8 that Suyu received the news that Wuxia had come out of seclusion. Bright Heart Hall. In the main hall. On this day, there were many more people. A group of old men and old ladies looked at Wuxia in the main hall. Compared to the feeling of the sunset a few days ago, Wuxia was still as old as a dragon. However, the aura of death on his body had disappeared. Wuxia's teeth were missing, and at this moment, some of the roots seemed to be growing. When Suyu arrived, Niu Baidao was talking to Wuxia. When he sensed Suyu's arrival, he instantly looked at Suyu with a strange expression on his face. Soon, he no longer cared about him. He smiled and said, "Suyu, the effect of your cultivation method seems pretty good." "What is this cultivation method called?" "Primordial Spirit Life Force Art." Suyu smiled and looked at Wuxia. He cupped his hands and said, "Congratulations, Senior. However, I think that Senior has only slightly stimulated the vitality of your physical body. It doesn't seem to be of much help to your sea of consciousness." Wuxia revealed a smile. "It's already very good. When your body is strong, it can actually nourish your sea of consciousness. On the other hand, when your body is weak, it will also cause your sea of consciousness to gradually wither. In fact, it's still one body. The effect of this cultivation technique is very good. It's just that it was a little hard to say. PFFT 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 PFFT, no one could avoid it. She had only opened her acupoints. As she did not have much Heaven Yuan Qi, she had used up all her Heaven Yuan Qi after cultivating a few times. However, during her cultivation, that feeling was really hard to say. Probably only she and Suyu could understand this feeling of being difficult to talk about. This cultivation technique could not be cultivated in front of others. The few old fellows kept asking her to try it out and let them see the effects. Wuxia could not be bothered with them. She was old, but no matter how old she was, a woman was still a woman. This matter, just let Suyu try it out. Suyu also coughed dryly and said with a smile, "The effect of nourishing the body should be very good. I've tried it a few times. Not only can it nourish the body, during the body forging period, using this cultivation technique also has the effect of accelerating absorption." Wuxia nodded, "That's for sure. This cultivation technique absorbs Heaven Yuan Qi, which is beneficial to the body forging. The original purpose of this cultivation technique might not be to extend one's life, but it has the effect of nourishing the body. To many warriors, their body is aging and their qi and blood are declining. Once they cultivate this cultivation technique, they might be able to maintain their peak combat strength." Then, she looked at Suyu. "What do you think?" Suyu nodded, "That's for sure. I also have the same thought. This cultivation technique was derived from some of the cultivation techniques of the 10,000 races. Therefore, I'm guessing that among the 10,000 races, there are some old antiques that have always maintained their peak combat strength." Wuxia didn't say anything more. Which race? It was hard for her to guess, but she had a general feeling that perhaps they were talking about the Celestials. If they were gods and devils, Suyu would just say it directly. At this moment, the others said one after another, "Suyu, is this cultivation technique easy to cultivate? Is this cultivation technique spreading? The effect seems to be quite good." Everyone spoke one after another and looked at Suyu from time to time. Their meaning was very clear. "Kid, we also want to cultivate. What do you think we should teach him? Suyu smiled and said, we can teach him the cultivation technique, but there are some difficulties. I've told the principal that the seniors can solve the problem of opening their apertures themselves, but after opening their apertures, it doesn't mean that the cultivation technique can be used. Heavenly Yuan Qi. Yes. Suyu nodded, and the other elders shut their mouths one after another. Heaven Essence Qi. They probably needed quite a lot of it. This thing was not easy to obtain. They had opened their apertures and expended a large amount of energy to complete the cultivation method. In the end, they could not use it. That would be a waste of time. Suyu smiled and said, seniors, you can try it out yourself. Heaven Essence Qi, perhaps it will be there in the future. Who knows, a great battle might break out very soon. We have broken through the God and demon great worlds, and there will be a large amount of Heaven Essence Qi. The old men smiled bitterly. Did you think that the God and demon great worlds were toilets that you could break just like that? There was some regret. Cultivation techniques could be cultivated and seen, but they could not be used. It was really quite regretful. Everyone was also a little dispirited. They congratulated Hu Qi for a while. Even though Hu Qi did not have Heaven's origin Qi, now that the cultivation technique had been activated, she had cultivated it a few times. At the very least, she would not die for a short period of time. It shouldn't be a problem for her to live for another 1 or 2 years, right? Moreover, if she was lucky and her physical injuries recovered, she might be able to live even longer if she were to feed it back to her sea of consciousness. Soon, the elders dispersed. As for Suyu, after everyone else left, he looked at Niu Baidao for a while. Niu Baidao was speechless and had no choice but to leave. He could also tell that Suyu had something to look for Hu Qi. After everyone left, a jade pendant appeared in Suyu's hand. Seeing the data on the jade pendant, Hu Qi's eyes moved slightly. Zhao Tianbing is really good. He actually created such a level of sensing jade by himself. As expected of the number 1 Earth rank weapon forging master. She recognized this thing at a glance. She could also tell at a glance that this was Zhao Tianbing's handiwork. As for Zhao Li, he was still far from it. Senior. Suyu said with some anticipation, Senior, there's still a small problem with this induction jade. It can't differentiate between the number of people, and we can't be sure if it's the same person. You want me to help you modify it? Suyu laughed dryly and nodded. Sure. Hu Qi smiled and said, if it was a few years ago when you came to me, I actually wouldn't have been able to do it. It's very difficult for me to improve the things that Zhao Tianbing created, but now, it just so happens that I have some research on this, but I'm actually lacking some small functions. I can help you add them in. It was indeed a small matter. She had this experience. After spending several decades, a few Earth-rank weapon forging masters had created the super induction jade. She was the leader of it, so she understood this too well. Around 7 days. I can help you successfully modify it, but the range won't be too big. The radius will be around 1,000 meters. Suyu was pleasantly surprised. This seemed to be even bigger than before. Was Hu Qi that strong? Hu Qi seemed to know what he was thinking. He smiled and said, it's not that Zhao Tianbing is weak. This thing might be something he's not very good at. It might be the first one he created. He didn't think too much about it and lacked some functions. I'm just adding on. The difficulty isn't high. Zhao Tianbing can do it himself, but he might not be interested in improving this. Thank you, Senior. Suyu was overjoyed. No matter what, it would be a good thing if he could improve it. Hu Qi smiled as well. After a while, she thought for a moment and said, right, that cultivation technique of yours. It's better not to spread it around. It will consume Heaven's origin Qi, Heaven's origin Qi. Sigh. She sighed. There was no such thing. If it really spread everywhere, she was worried that everyone would risk their lives for the sake of prolonging their lives. She was worried that there would be someone who would disregard everything and charge into the god and devil expanse cosmos. That would really be courting death. When one's lifespan was up, one's lifespan was almost up. This was the thought of many people. However, she did not wish to see some of her old friends sending themselves to their deaths. She had experienced it herself and knew how much despair one would feel at that moment. As for Su Yu giving her so much heaven essence chi was probably already his limit. She did not ask if Su Yu had it. There was no need for that. Su Yu nodded and said, "It hasn't reached that stage yet. Perhaps there will be improvements in the future. I'll take a look again. Senior, then I'll come back in a few days." Okay. After Su Yu stood up and left, Hu Qi suddenly said, "This time, I owe you a favor for saving my life. Su Yu, if you need anything in the future, you can come and look for me." "Senior, you're too kind." Su Yu turned around, smiled brightly, and turned around to leave. After he left, Hu Qi also smiled and sighed. This kid was really quite terrifying. Heaven Yuan Qi, did he still have it? If he still had it, perhaps he could use this opportunity to subdue, not subdue, but to rope in a group of old-fashioned suns and moons that were about to fall. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1385. 1385 Chapter 322, Everything was ready. There was no need to owe Dongfeng, 1. The induction jade was temporarily handed over to Hu Qi. At this point, Su Yu only had one thing left to do. He had to fake his identity. It was impossible for a genius to appear out of thin air in this human realm. Of course, even if he wasn't a genius, he had to have some strength. Unless he was a member of the 10,000 tribes, his identity was very important if he wanted to walk around openly. Yueshin Island. Su Yu called out Old Turtle again and asked curiously, "Senior Rotary Turtle, when I fought Shan Xiong the last time, a rotary turtle appeared in the lake. Is it a descendant of Senior?" When he fought Shan Xiong the last time, a rotary turtle also appeared. It had the strength of the Ling Yun realm. After that, it was forced by Su Yu and Shan Xiong to escape from the lake. The old turtle said with a smile, "No, it's my inner chamber." F***ck. Nowadays, even a turtle had a wife. Su Yu was also speechless. After a long while, he said, "Senior, actually it's good to be alone. I think it's also good to be alone. If you didn't have a wife, you might have already reached the sun-moon realm." The old turtle was speechless. This kid was advising him not to find a female turtle. Did he know that he had many wives? "Young friend, your words are wrong. When cultivating Tao, what one cultivates is the heart of Tao. What one cultivates is the intersection of yin and yang between heaven and earth. What one cultivates is mutual consent. What one cultivates is happiness and joy. Otherwise, what's the point of cultivating Tao?" Su Yu was silent for a moment and did not speak again. He nodded slightly. Perhaps. Everyone had different pursuits, so one could not force them. The rotary turtle clan might be different from the human race. Even if they married, they might not delay their cultivation. There might be some difference between a female turtle and a woman. The female turtle might not interfere with the old turtle's cultivation. While they were chatting, they arrived at Happy Island. Niu Baidao had just returned not long ago. At this moment, he walked to the tea pavilion high in the courtyard and said with a smile, "Kid, you just chased me away, and now you're looking for me? Manor head, you must be joking." Su Yu flew down and cupped his fists at the old tortoise. He quickly looked at Niu Baidao and said with a smile, "Manor head, I didn't chase you away just now. You wanted to leave yourself. You brat. Niu Baidao said with a smile, come up and have a cup of tea. You, kid, have been coming and going in a hurry these days. You're too busy. It's only cultivating the Tao when you're relaxed. Su Yu stepped on the air and landed in front of him. Niu Baidao poured him a cup of tea across the air and looked around. He smiled and said, if you have nothing to do, then climb high and look far. Look at this tranquil lake. Su Yu smiled and said, the undercurrents are turbulent. How can there be peace? Why does the manor head have to deceive himself? Was the lake calm? Not necessarily. It was only calm on the surface, but in reality, the undercurrents were turbulent and full of killing intent. Niu Bendao was slightly startled. After a long while, he slowly nodded, you're right. It's true. The Great Zhou Mansion, the Great Xia Mansion, and the Great Ming Mansion are all surging with undercurrents, including the heavenly battlefield and the three great sea regions. In fact, some chaos has appeared. Then he sighed and said, however, there's still some time. The gods and demons might not be ready. The half-emperors are in closed-door cultivation. If the half-emperors don't appear, the two powerful clans won't dare to fight with the humans rashly. As long as the humans can't be exterminated, and the humans occupy many small worlds, the gods and demons won't be able to bear the consequences. The human race was not willing to give up on the human realm. If they were really willing to give up, the human race might not be as strong as the two powerful races, but in the end, it would definitely result in both sides suffering heavy losses. If they occupied the small world and displayed their invincible strength, unless the gods and demons broke the small world, otherwise, the human race would be invincible in the small world. Of course, they could not lose the human realm. Although they all thought that the human realm was not that easy to break, if they really lost the human realm, once the gods and demons broke the human realm, then all the invincible human realm cultivators would suffer heavy losses, or even fall into the lower realm. At that time, the human race would be in big trouble. Su Yu nodded. So, it's still a matter of time. Even if the gods and demons want to erupt into an all-out war, they won't be able to firmly suppress the human race, and they won't rashly go all out either. Principle, right? Right. Niu Bendao nodded, very quickly, he added, but, there's still a problem. The immortal race. The immortal race was previously sitting on the sidelines. Now, there's a problem. Once Zhou Polong confirms that it's the multi-divine literature department who has achieved the Tao, the immortal race might quickly change their stance and choose to join in. Su Yu did not say anything. Niu Baidao added, of course, the Celestials have bad intentions. Everyone knows this. What we're afraid of is that the Celestials and the Celestials have completely joined forces. Principal, are you saying that what I said before was wrong? Su Yu said indifferently, I just won't say it. Shan Xiong has been wandering around and provoking strong enemies everywhere. He has many unique characteristics. Sooner or later, someone will think of this. I just pointed out the key to it. If you want to blame Zhou Polong for indulging his disciples' flamboyance. He didn't feel that he had done anything wrong. He had never felt that way. Since Shan Xiong had challenged him and Zhou Polong had killed him, why didn't he fight back? As for how much trouble he had caused and how much danger he had brought to the human race, he had to find the instigator. Strictly speaking, Su Yu was a victim. He had nothing to do with him. Whether Invincible was angry or not, Su Yu didn't care. This time, he was going out to avoid the limelight. If Invincible really felt that Su Yu had done something wrong and wanted to find trouble with him, at worst, he could just run away and run to the Zhu Tian battlefield. Without saying anything else, Su Yu directly said, Principal, when I go out, I need an identity, a reasonable identity. Even if Invincible comes to investigate, I still have this identity, this person. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1386. 1386 Chapter 322, Everything is Ready. Don't owe Dongfeng, too. Niu Baidao smiled and said, My identity is simple. I have lived for hundreds of years. This is a small matter. For an old antique who had lived for hundreds of years, it was really not difficult. He said directly, 2 identities, one in the open and one in the dark. On the surface, you are a disciple of a family in the Great Ming Mansion. In the dark, you are actually my student. What do you think of this identity? Su Yu looked at him. Niu Baidao said indifferently, Why, can't I? It's nothing. I've lived for so many years. To be honest, I've taken in quite a number of disciples. There are all sorts of things. Some took them in and taught them for a few days before ignoring them. Some took them in and sent them out on their own to gain experience. Some put on a name and felt that this person had a future. They made a friend and put on the reputation of my disciple Niu Baidao. They more or less have some background. Niu Baidao smiled and said, I have quite a number of such identities. As for the real ones, they are all alive, but some of them are useless and have concealed their identities. Some of them are in seclusion in the secret realm, and they will be in seclusion for decades. They might not be able to come out. If they are alive, even if Invincible were to investigate, they would not be able to find out that they are dead. Niu Baidao laughed and said, Which identity do you want? Su Yu was speechless. After a long while, he said, Weapon Forging Master. Niu Baidao raised his eyebrows. You want to pretend to be a weapon forging master? Didn't you just go out to the ruins? And you still want to pretend to be a weapon forging master? Yes, weapon forging master. Su Yu smiled and said, Don't be too old, but you can't be too weak. It's best if you're a civilization master at the 9th level of the soaring sky realm, and your physical strength isn't weak either. It's best if you've cultivated a heaven-rank cultivation technique, and your physical body has reached the level of 18. He could imitate any cultivation technique. This was something Su Yu was confident in. It wasn't a simulation, but a real cultivation technique that he could use once he obtained it. The other apertures were closed. Other than Su Yu himself exploding, it was also very difficult for outsiders to notice this requirement. Niu Baidao, who was full of confidence just a moment ago, had a headache when he heard this. The requirements were higher. I do have a female disciple here. Cough cough. Su Yu nearly coughed to death. Principal, be more reliable. A woman? You want me to disguise as a woman? I'm not that pervert Su Bin. Niu Baidao laughed dryly and said, Hear me out. This female disciple of mine has a younger brother. He meets the requirements that you mentioned. He's not too old. He's around 35 years old. He can be considered a genius. 35 years old. To be able to meet the requirements that Su Yu mentioned earlier, he could indeed be considered a genius. But there's one thing. This kid, when he was young, he also caused some trouble. He kept a low profile all these years because he was afraid of trouble, so he has been avoiding this trouble. What trouble? Niu Baidao thought for a moment. He coughed dryly and said, Actually, it's not too bad. It's just that he's a little unfaithful. A few years ago, he slept with a granddaughter of the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm. Cough cough, normal male and female love, right? Even the Daming Manor could understand it. But that girl, she just didn't want to marry him. As for him, he didn't want to find someone to control him, so he hid himself. The other party's grandfather has been looking for him as well. You're trying to pass yourself off as him. I'm afraid there'll be some trouble. Su Yu shook his head. Then forget it. I don't want to provoke a Sun-Moon 9th level for no reason. But other than him, there's no other identity that meets your expectations. Besides, he can tell you all his stories in person without being exposed. In order to solve this problem, he will also hide himself until you don't need to use this identity. 3 to 5 years, 10 to 8 years, no problem. Su Yu frowned and Niu Bendao said, ahem, that girl's grandfather is in seclusion. Actually, he might not come out. Now that you mention it, I think there's a 99% chance that he will come out. Su Yu was speechless. These words could not be said. Sometimes, the more he said, the more effective it was. Also, what if that girl comes? I'll kill her. Otherwise, what will I do? This identity met his requirements, but it was very troublesome. The girl and the old were both very difficult to provoke. Women, children, and the old. The three big ones could not be provoked. To provoke two of them at once, this identity was not good. That girl, I can't find you anymore. Niu Baidao smiled and said, at least not for a short period of time. She went to the heavenly battlefield and stayed there for 2 years. She hasn't been there for long. Staying there for 2 years, you don't need 2 years, right? Su Yu shook his head. There was no need for that. When he went to the heavenly battlefield, he might change his identity. With his identity as a human realm expert, he might be able to tell others that changing his identity in the heavenly battlefield was absolutely not allowed. This was something that could only be known by oneself. I still feel that it's not appropriate. Her grandfather has come looking to kill me or force me to marry his granddaughter. Wouldn't that be troublesome? Not to the extent. Niu Baidao smiled and said, her grandfather is looking for trouble with you. Do you think that he's willing to marry his granddaughter to a wastrel? If you really meet him, say it properly. At most, you can kowtow and apologize. It shouldn't be a big deal. If it really doesn't work out, just say that I've accepted you as my disciple. I need master's consent to let that old fellow come looking for me. There shouldn't be much of a problem. As he spoke, Niu Bidao smiled and said, don't worry. If I really have to die, can I let you pretend to be me? That old man also knows that this kid has some relationship with me. Otherwise, you think that he won't be able to catch this kid. This kid is now hiding in the Tiandu mansion. It's not like he doesn't know. Su Yu thought for a moment and asked, which 9th level Sun Moon? The director of the Tang's Department of Cultivation is a little older than Lao Ho. He's about the same age as me. They're both from the same era. That's not right. It's the previous director of the Department of Cultivation. This old man has already stepped down and is now one of the most powerful people in the Tang's department. If you don't go to the Tang's department, he might not find trouble with you. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1387. 1387 Chapter 322, Everything is Ready. Don't O Dongfeng, 3. The Tang Empire. The 9th level of the Sun and Moon. Su Yu said uncertainly, it's really nothing. That guy won't kill me with a slap without saying anything when he sees me, right? That would be too unfair. Absolutely not. Niu Bidao curled his lips and said, his granddaughter is willing to do anything that a man and a woman are willing to do. She even caused a ruckus before. If that old guy dares to do anything to that kid, his granddaughter will commit suicide. Otherwise, do you think that sleeping with the granddaughter of the 9th level of the Sun and Moon will make it so easy for her to escape? Scumbag. Su Yu said that he was talking about the guy who he wanted to replace his identity. After sleeping with him, he actually put on his pants and ran away. His Sun Moon 9th level granddaughter didn't have enough status. Not enough strength. Not enough status. Or no feelings. Then why did you sleep with him? He actually wanted others to commit suicide for him. He was really a scumbag. Niu Baidao said embarrassedly, you can't say that. Nowadays, cultivators, they pursue freedom. Other people won't talk about it, just talk about your teacher Lu Wenyan. He's also like this. Look at him. There are quite a number of women around him. They've been waiting for him for decades. Don't you think so? Scum, then you can count yourself as one. This won't do. Let me tell you, your teacher is also like this. Don't scold him. If you scold him, Niu Baidao is actually no better than that kid. Of course, some of the female confidants of the past have already passed away. Otherwise. Now, someone might come to the academy to make a fuss. That would be shameless. Su Yu's mouth opened and closed. After a long while, he was speechless. That's true. Forget it, there was nothing to scold. Then what's his name? Chui Lang. F***ck. This name matched his personality. He was indeed a playboy. Chui Lang. Can I meet him? Of course you can. If you go out, I can leave him in the secret realm of the academy and let him cultivate in seclusion. This kid is about to enter Ling Yun. Coincidentally, he has the opportunity to cultivate. He can't wait to do so. Then. He frowned and said, but, can you hide it from some people? The difficulty wasn't low. How about this? I'll get you something good later and you can bring it with you. Unless the Sun-Moon realm checks you inch by inch, it will be difficult to discover your identity. Su Yu was overjoyed. Then I'll have to trouble you, Mansion Master. Chui Lang will do. At most, I won't go to the Tang Mansion. Alright, I'll arrange for you to meet later. Let's talk more. This kid is a playboy, but he's actually quite talented. He's also one of the top geniuses in Daming Mansion. Of course, he hasn't shown his face for many years, and few people remember him now. Speaking of this, Niu Baidao continued, do you need someone to protect you? No. Su Yu smiled and said, as long as he doesn't have any strong enemies, then there's no need. Otherwise, why would a strong person protect him? It would be easy for him to reveal his weakness. As he said this, Su Yu said, Principal, can this matter only be known to the few of us? I don't wish for too many people to know. Of course. Niu Baidao laughed and said, don't worry, I was still hoping that you would be able to return smoothly and extend the lives of a few old fellows. Su Yu nodded and said, but I'm afraid that it will take some time. It'll take 2 or 3 years, it's fine. That was good. Su Yu calculated for a moment. At the very most, he could just wait until he left. If it took too long, he could just find someone to send the item over. As for the cultivation technique, Niu Baidao knew about it. It was just that he lacked Heaven Yuan Qi. Once his identity was resolved, Niu Baidao would also give him a treasure to hide his identity. The induction jade would also be done very quickly. He would probably be able to cast his physical body 8 times in a few days, and the divine runes would also be almost complete. At this point, most of the preparations were ready. However, Su Yu thought of something and continued, Principal, then my personal identity. You can announce that you are in closed-door cultivation. Niu Baidao smiled and said, you were already in closed-door cultivation to begin with. With 144 yuan apertures exploding, it's normal for you to be in closed-door cultivation for half a year. Of course, it's best for you to choose a place where no one knows about it. For example, that Wulon or something. I know that. Then there's no problem. The two of them discussed for a while. Niu Baidao would bring Chui Lang to meet Su Yu tonight. The two of them would have a talk, and Su Yu would learn about the other party's style, learn about his deeds, and get to know some family and friends that he might meet. Su Yu calculated for a while. There was still time, so he was not in a hurry. Before he left, it was best to be absolutely safe. Of course, it was inevitable that Niu Baidao would know his identity. If Niu Bendao did not know, then Su Yu would not even be able to leave the city. Su Yu did not know if Niu Bendao would tell Zhu Tiandao, so he just told him. It was not a big deal. As for the identity of the human realm, he would know once he knew. If these people really wanted to harm him, Su Yu actually did not have the chance to resist. Right now, he was in Daming Mansion. That night, Su Yu met Cui Lang. He met him on Yueshin Island. A very young, sunny, and handsome guy with a bit of a ruffian aura. When he met Su Yu, he felt a bit careless. He crossed his arms and looked at Su Yu up and down with a smile. Let's get to know each other, Cui Lang. Pavilion Elder Su, the top genius of the human race, defeated Shan Xiong. I think Huang Tang and Qin Fong might not be able to defeat you. Pavilion Master Su, it's my honor to use my identity. Cui Lang smiled and smiled for a while. Without waiting for Su Yu to speak, he said, Pavilion Master Su, you're too serious. That won't do. Those who know me, Cui Lang, all know my character. I'm not serious at all. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1388. 1388 Chapter 322, Everything is ready. Don't owe me anything, for. Su Yu nodded. I can feel it. Cui Lang chuckled and said, about my matter, Governor Niu roughly told you about it. Actually, it's not much trouble. It's just that there's a little trouble at the Tang Palace. There's not much trouble at other places. I usually look for women to flirt with, but I was tricked by that woman and actually fell for it. Sigh, what a pity. He let out a sigh. Cui Lang looked very desperate as he felt that he had suffered a big setback. Su Yu was speechless. So, you still have a lot of stories to tell? In the future, would there be a random woman on the street who would shout, Master Cui, it's been a long time. I miss you. F***ck. Su Yu felt a headache when he thought of that scene. You didn't offend the descendants of other experts, did you? No, don't worry, I always follow the rules when I do things. I was also unlucky that time. That woman insisted that she was from an ordinary family. Sigh, I actually believed her. An ordinary family. Women are indeed unreliable. Cui Lang sighed again, I failed this time, and the rest is gone. In addition, I still have some friends in the major manors. I don't have to worry too much about this. Even if I don't recognize them when we meet, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we're not that close. We're just friends. If we really meet, Brother Zhang and Brother Li can fool us. There's nothing much about the Cui family. I haven't been back for many years. It's just that my sister, who is also the disciple of Head Niu, has also been in seclusion for a few years. This won't be a problem. Cui Lang spoke for a while and briefly introduced his own situation. He had also graduated from Daming Civilization University. However, after graduating, this fellow had run away and wandered around. He had been to many places in the human realm and had also been to the celestial battlefield a few times. However, he wasn't there to kill people. This fellow had gone to the celestial battlefield to see if whether the living beauties of the 10,000 clans were beautiful or not. Very wild. Su Yu listened quietly and paid attention to his every word and action. Cui Lang's deeds were simple too. The Cui family wasn't a big family. However, his sister was taken in by Niu Bendao as a student, so the Cui family could be considered to have climbed up a high branch. Because of this, Cui Lang was able to quickly cultivate to such a level. A civilization master at the 9th level of the soaring heavens realm could cast weapons. However, the cast weapons were only at the peak of the yellow level and hadn't reached the black level yet. In fact, it was considered not bad. Now, he was about to enter the Lingyun realm. The 35-year-old Ling Yun was not considered weak. In terms of the physical body, he was indeed cultivating a heaven-grade cultivation technique. However, it was only at the initial stage of the heaven level. He had 110 openings and 18 casts of his physical body. He was also at the 9th level of the soaring heaven realm. With such strength, he was not weak. He was not weaker than Ling Yun, who was only cultivating at the initial stage of the soaring heaven realm. He could also be considered as Niu Bendao's disciple or grand disciple. This fellow had always been learning from his sister. Sometimes, Niu Bendao would teach him some things, such as waves and womanizing. Most of the time, he would learn from Niu Bendao. Suyu pretended not to hear his casual remark. In his eyes, the head of Niu Mansion was still a decent person. Now that he heard it, he thought about it. Forget it, it was fine if he didn't want to think about it. The two of them spent the night chatting. In the next few days, Suyu went into seclusion during the day and came to Yueshin Island at night. He continued to listen to Cui Lang's story and his experiences. All the way until the 15th. On this day, two great happy events happened. Suyu's body was cast into 8. And the induction jade was also improved by Hu Qi. After obtaining the induction jade from the Bright Heart Hall, Suyu put it into his sea of consciousness again and discovered that it was very different. Hu Qi was very powerful. This was how Suyu felt. The induction jade had a few additional functions. Suyu tested it briefly. When different people probed, they could display different numbers. For example, when 2 mountains and seas probed him, they would display 2 red dots, red 1 and red 2. The sun and moon, that was purple. It was also displayed separately. It looked simple, but it had an additional layer of ability to detect auras. This was not a small function, and Hu Qi probably spent a lot of effort on it. Moreover, compared to before, the current detection was more specific. For example, the denser the red, the stronger the other party was, and the stronger the experts in the mountains and seas. The thinner the red color, the weaker the other party was among the same level. The last change was that Suyu could passively be scouted by others, or he could actively use the sensing jade to track down the other party's location. Of course, this way, he would be easily exposed and be sensed by the other party. However, when it was needed, it was a good function. It was not easy to use a powerful fellow to probe you. A weak fellow could track you down and directly kill the other party. After obtaining the induction jade and listening to Cui Lang's story for a week, Suyu had a general understanding of Cui Lang. On the night of the 15th. Yueshin Island. At this moment, in the hall, there were 2 Cui Lang. Niu Baidao was also at the side. He stared at the two of them for a while. After a long while, he said, "I'm going out for a while. I won't spy on the two of you. When I come back, I'll figure out who's real. Suyu, change your clothes. If you can even fool me, then there won't be any problems unless invincible spies on you." "Understood." Cui Lang replied. Niu Baidao was stunned for a moment. "You're Suyu." He wanted to investigate, but he felt a little embarrassed. He coughed dryly and said, "Stop fooling around, Cui Lang. Do you believe that I won't beat you up?" "Principal, why are you beating me up?" Cui Lang was speechless. "You can't have mistaken me for someone else, right?" At the side, Suyu also laughed carelessly and said, "Principal, your eyesight. TSK, not good at all." Niu Baidao looked at the two of them and scanned them from left to right. After a long while, he said, "A child playing this game with me? Do you really think there's no difference at all? Suyu, your skin is a little tanned. It's probably because you've just broken through. This kid's skin is fair and tender, just like a gigolo. Of course, when we go out, no one will care." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1389. 1389 Chapter 322, Everything is Ready. Don't O Dongfeng, 5. Jin Chui Lang couldn't hold it in anymore. He said with a flattering smile, "Principal, I don't look like a gigolo. I'm born with good skin. There's nothing I can do about it." Suyu smiled and returned to his true appearance. He asked, "Principal, is there a big problem?" "There's still a problem." Niu Baidao said, "This change of yours comes from the divine text. You've just reached level 3. Even if you cooperate with the concealing talisman I gave you and your other concealing divine text, it's not difficult to hide from the mountains and seas. It's fine if you don't carefully investigate the sun and moon, but once the sun and moon carefully investigate you, you'll be exposed. The sun is high and the moon is heavy." Suyu thought for a while and said, "Then, if my divine prose reaches tier 4, will there be no flaws?" Tier 4. Niu Baidao wanted to curse. That was the mountain and sea divine prose. You just F***king sword into the sky. You actually asked me if your divine prose reached tier 4. Suyu quickly said, "Actually, there is still a concealment method. I will bring that little hairy ball and hide it in my sea of will. It actually also has the ability to conceal itself." Actually, there was another point. Among the innate techniques that Suyu knew, there were quite a number of concealment techniques. He did not know if they could strengthen the concealment ability. Niu Baidao pondered for a moment before saying, "You want to bring along that little hairy ball? That fellow might be a descendant of the aboriginals. If you bring it along, it will be fine at the human realm. Then, you should try not to go to the heavenly battlefield. Otherwise, it will be easy to provoke the expert behind this fellow." "I know this." Suyu nodded. He would wait and see. Generally speaking, there isn't much of a problem. The sun and moon generally won't investigate a person in detail. Unless your performance is too obvious and arouses suspicion, it will be enough to look at your cultivation technique and your appearance. Why would they investigate you? If your divine prose has really reached level 4, then there won't be any problem hiding it from the sun and moon. I got it." Suyu nodded. Fortunately, according to Niu Baidao, unless an expert above level 7 of the sun and moon inspected him in detail, he wouldn't have any big flaws. Unless he had offended the sun and moon, otherwise, no one would deliberately come to investigate him. Now, everything was really ready. "When do you plan to leave?" Suyu thought for a while and said with a smile, "On May 18th. I will explain the things in the research institute, and then I will officially enter closed-door cultivation." "Okay, when you leave, you can leave directly. It just so happens that Chui Lang's little wife went to the Zhutian battlefield, and her grandfather is in closed-door cultivation. It's reasonable for you to go out at this time. After being chased for so many years, it's your chance to go out now." At the side, Chui Lang was speechless. It made sense. Niu Baidao didn't come to find him. He was indeed prepared to go out for a year before coming back. That woman would only return to the human realm after more than a year. At this point, Chui Lang said with emotion, "Brother Su, I'll say it in advance. You can use my identity, but you've provoked a great enemy. You must take me out before the enemy is dead. Otherwise, I'll be wronged to death." "That's for sure." Suyu smiled and said, "Of course. If I change back to my identity, I will solve all the problems during the period of using Brother Chui's identity. I won't bring trouble to Brother Chui." "That's good." He was a little afraid. Suyu was not a good guy. The people he offended were not weak either. He could not withstand it. As for the other things, he did not care too much. Even if Suyu had provoked dozens of women outside, he did not care. Was he afraid of this? What a joke. He was not afraid of these things. Suyu went out this time and hoped that he could solve his own problems. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1390. 1390 Chapter 323 Leaving the Mansion 1. Primordial Spirit Research Institute. At the end of the 350th year of the Anping calendar, Suyu went to the Daming Mansion. On the way, he passed a lonely new year. Now, he was about to go on a long journey again. The Great Xia Mansion was his first destination. There were too many things there that he could not forget, could not let go, could not let go. During this half a year in Daming Manor, he had brought a lot of things. He had fame and fortune, a background, and a backer. Suyu was grateful to Daming Manor. He was also grateful to the Zhu family, Niu Baidao, and the others. Suyu was not prepared to leave just like that. However, the days that he was about to leave were filled with melancholy and reluctance. Once he left Daming Mansion, he would have to rely on himself in the future. Anything was possible. At this moment when the human realm was about to fall into chaos, no one knew if he would have the chance to return alive. On the 6th floor, in the Four Seasons Pavilion. Today, Suyu was treating. Wen Zhong, Jin Sheng, and the other elders were pulled out of the laboratory by him. Tonight, Suyu was treating. At this moment, May 17th. Wu Lan felt that this scene was familiar. She remembered now. Back then, when Suyu was about to leave the Great Xia Mansion, he also treated them to a meal. On that day, Jiang Mu, Zhao Ming, Xia Huyo, Jing Yunhui, Wuxia. They were all there. Later, not long after, the news that Suyu had fallen from the mountain and escaped to the Great Ming Mansion spread throughout the human realm. Today, Suyu treated them again. Suyu was eating and drinking with a faint smile on his face. He raised his wine cup and said, "Senior brothers and sisters, I haven't fully recovered from my injuries yet. In addition, I have some understanding of the primordial spirit aperture, so I've decided to officially enter closed-door cultivation from tomorrow onwards." Manor head Niu invited me to enter closed-door cultivation on his Yuexin Island. That place is safer and more spacious. Therefore, I'll probably have to go to Yuexin Island tomorrow. This closed-door cultivation will take at least 1 to 2 months. If it's long, it might take quite a long time. As for how long it will take, I'm not sure. Suyu smiled and said, "Senior brothers and sisters, over the past few months, we've paid a lot for the Primordial Spirit Research Institute." Wen Zhong sighed and said, "Don't say that. We old fellows are nothing compared to you. We've accomplished nothing. We haven't succeeded in the Primordial Spirit Aperture, the Soul Union Technique, and the Life Extension Technique." As he said that, he shook his head and sighed. These few old fellows had lived for more than 1,000 years. No, it was almost 2,000 years, but they still couldn't beat a child. How embarrassing. The other few people also had helpless expressions. It was heart-wrenching. Suyu smiled and said, "Senior brother Wen, it's not like you don't know about my situation. Without the inheritance of the ancestors, how could I be today?" "You can't say that." Wen Zhong shook his head and said, "Let's not talk about other things. The joint aperture technique is definitely not inherited by the ancestors. The primordial spirit enlightenment technique. Even if you have some inheritance, I can see that it should only be some practice and not any ideas. You can compile a cultivation method. This is ability. It allows people to understand it, learn it, and explain the reasoning behind it. It's not pretentious or showy. It's simple and easy to understand. This is ability. It means that you have a thorough understanding of this cultivation method. You have understood it. This is something that many people can't do, including some experts." Jin Sheng also nodded and said, "Junior brother Su, don't belittle yourself. We are not those children who are jealous of others. As we get older, we have seen through it. Your attainments in cultivation techniques are extremely deep. In fact, your attainments are even more profound than ours. Your attainments are much deeper and your comprehension ability is top-notch. Su Yu grinned and laughed out loud. Then I will take it seriously. The few senior brothers have praised me so much that I feel embarrassed. The few of them laughed. Did they praise him? It didn't count. Su Yu's attainments in cultivation methods were indeed very deep. Su Yu first practiced, then theory, practice and theory combined. In terms of cultivation method exploration, he could indeed be called an expert. Of course, it was only limited to cultivation methods under the mountains and seas. If the few of them couldn't even see this, then they would be blind. Su Yu's cultivation method had some traces of the 10,000 races, but it was clearly stated. It was described with human language, and the principles and cultivation process were clearly stated. This required a very high standard. The elders did not think that he was an idiot. Su Yu grinned for a while and quickly said, I may have been in seclusion for a long time. Senior brothers and sisters, if you want to break through now, I can help. Su Yu said seriously, Senior brothers and sisters, you also know about my little hairy ball. I also thought for a long time about what Senior brother Jean said last time. The rejection of the divine language might not be because the 10,000 races divine language rejected the human race. It might be because the human race rejected the 10,000 races. If you want to break through, I can let the little hairy ball swallow everyone's divine language without any sequelae and reduce the rejection. All of you have profound skills. The only thing that you lack is that the divine runes repel too much, causing the divine runes to be unable to level up. Once the divine runes level up, Senior Brother Wen can enter the mountains and seas. Senior Brother Jean, you can enter Ling Yun. The few of them looked at each other. Wen Zhong stroked his beard and said, I'm still a little reluctant. There's no problem with my divine runes. The main problem is still the problem of the convergence of apertures. Of course, it might also be related to the excessive amount of divine runes, causing the difficulty of the convergence to increase. As for Junior Brother Jean and the others, it's purely due to the excessive amount of divine runes. When Zhong looked at the few of them, he said with a smile, why don't you all give it a try? Just treat it as an experiment for Junior Brother. That little hairy ball hasn't been experimented on until today and hasn't made any contributions. You guys play with it every day and give the others a chance to make contributions more or less. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1391. 1391 Chapter 323 Leaving the Mansion 2. Su Yu couldn't help but laugh. Toying with these two words was getting interesting. Little hairy ball Su Yu didn't enter his sea of will either. Under normal circumstances, he would be playing with the rabbit on the first floor. In the end, he was being toyed with every day. Of course, perhaps from little hairy ball's point of view, it was toying with people. How could one know the joy of a fish when it was not a fish? Jin Xing said helplessly, I really can't bear to. This time, even Wu Lan couldn't help but ridicule, Senior Brother Jean, you have too many divine runes. How good would it be if you gave me a few? You've already outlined 32 divine runes, so you might have the most divine runes at the human realm. Jin Xing waved his hand and said, no, that's all nonsense. How could I have the most divine runes at the human realm? Some of the invincible ones have lived for a long time. In the past, I might not have outlined many divine runes, but now it's hard to say. I feel that I definitely don't have the most divine runes. Take Dean Hu and Senior Brother Wen for example, they might not have fewer divine runes than me. Wen Zhong smiled and said, I'm not sure about my teacher. As for me, I only have 14 divine literature battle techniques and another 12 divine literature. I need a total of 26 divine literature, but I don't have as many as you do. Here, these old men were constantly counting tens of divine literature. They hadn't been doing anything else for hundreds of years, and their strength wasn't that great either. Sketching divine literature was just a joke. Suyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was helpless. In fact, there weren't many divine runes in the Great Xia Manor's branch of divine runes. This included Hong Tan, who was probably just like Lu Wenyan and the other elders. He had too much free time, so he had sketched out quite a few divine runes. As for the others, they didn't exceed 20 divine runes. In total, Suyu had sketched out 21 divine runes. When Zhong said, "Junior brother Jean, why don't you give it a try? It's a good opportunity to see if the repulsive force of the human race is stronger or the repulsive force of the 10,000 races is stronger. We can use this to test if we can avoid the repulsive force of the human race's divine runes and quickly step into the Sun-Moon realm." Jin Sheng hesitated for a moment. After thinking for a moment, he gritted his teeth and said, "Then I'll give it a try. This time, I'll lose 6 divine runes." He was speechless. If you're missing 6 divine inscriptions, don't you still have 26 divine inscriptions? Suyu also smiled and quickly shouted, "Harry Ball, come up." His voice reverberated. A moment later, little Harry Ball shuttled through layers of space like an invisible object. Very soon, it appeared in the Four Seasons Pavilion. Little Harry Ball blinked its big eyes. When it saw a few old men, it seemed to be a little happy that it could play with people again. It was very boring to play with Suyu. It couldn't play with people either. It was very fun to play with other people. Its figure disappeared instantly. In the next moment, Wu Lan said angrily, "Get out." The little furball came out of the void with a puff. Just a moment ago, it drilled into Wu Lan's sea of consciousness and observed the vegetables it raised. Now that it came out, it was a little disappointed. "Little Wu Wu, my vegetables are not cooked yet. They don't smell good at all." "Oh." Suyu was stunned. "What vegetables?" Wu Lan's face was dark. She snorted and looked at Suyu. "This fellow is now spoiled by you. It said that our divine runes are all vegetables it raised. Do you understand?" Suyu frowned and looked at the little hairy ball. The little hairy ball seemed to be a little afraid and hid behind Wu Lan's head. Its 2 eyes peeked out from between its hair and secretly looked at Suyu. "I'm not talking about you." Suyu said lightly, "Hairy ball, remember this. The food I give you is yours. If I don't give it to you, it won't be yours. Do you understand?" This little fellow was too young. Wu Lan thought it was joking. It didn't know how to joke. It really felt that these people's divine runes were all its dishes. One day, when it felt that the dishes were cooked, it might harvest them. Suyu had to let little hairy ball know that there were some things that only he, Suyu, could decide. Little hairy ball looked at him timidly and did not dare to make a sound. Suyu frowned and said, "Do you remember? Be it the divine runes or willpower, including the Sea of Will. I'll let you eat the divine runes so that you can eat them. I'll let you drill into the Sea of Will so that you can drill into it. The next time you randomly drill into the Sea of Will, I think that the broken little hairy ball should be very delicious when it absorbs it." Squeak squeak. The little furball suddenly said a few words in its original race language. It felt a little wronged. It knew that it could eat Suyu's divine runes. Suyu seemed to be able to eat it as well. Yes, it seemed to be able to do so. When the divine runes were broken, Suyu could directly absorb them. It had felt it before. The others were nurturing while Suyu absorbed them directly. The two were different. The little furball was a little afraid. Even the fragrant ones would eat the furball. "Got it." The little furball obediently replied. The other elders all smiled, but no one said anything. This was Suyu's pet. No, this was not a pet. This fellow was actually very scary. If Suyu could not suppress it, that would be scary. If he really released it, it would be a huge disaster. If there were no experts in the city to stop it, within a day, all of the civilized masters under the mountains and seas in the city might become pure will-type civilized masters. Because without the divine text masters would disappear. Without the divine text, that would be terrifying. Without combat power, without divine skills, without pill refining methods, without weapon forging methods, without talismans, and without beast taming methods, that would be a huge mess. Although the elders didn't say anything about it, they were actually a little afraid of it. Wen Zhong said that the elders were toying with it, but that wasn't the case. They were only studying it to see if they could find a way to target this race. If this race had a large number, it would be a huge problem. They had to know the situation in advance. It would be best if they could restrain the other party. Su Yu did not say anything else. He smiled and said, "Let senior brother Jin try to swallow a few human divine runes. Don't swallow too many, understand? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories." Chapter 1392. 1392 Chapter 323 Leaving the Mansion 3. Alright. The little hairy ball was energetic again. It was not as shy as before. It looked at Jin Sheng with eager eyes. There was food now. A few days ago, it had eaten some divine runes of the Sun-Moon tier. Now, it had almost digested them and was a little hungry. It had not eaten anything for the past few days. It was very pitiful. Jin Sheng also had a look of regret on his face. I really can't bear to part with it. Sigh, I've sketched for so many years. On average, I only sketched one divine rune every 10 years. It's not easy to advance to tier 2 either. Just as he finished speaking, he was slightly startled. F***ck. F***ck, my human divine runes are gone. In the next moment, his sea of consciousness trembled. He had lost his human divine runes. Those 10,000 divine runes seemed to have been released at this moment. The divine runes began to stretch out in an instant. A moment later, Jin Sheng's willpower was shaken as the divine runes advanced to the next level. The others were stunned as well. At this moment, little hairy ball had already crawled out. When it reached Ling Yun's level, it could devour a soaring heaven realm divine rune. It was too easy. It could just crawl in and eat it. It ate 6 divine runes in one go. Jin Sheng's eyes were in a trance as the divine runes began to shake. The 32 divine inscriptions were repelling each other greatly previously. They could not be nurtured and could not advance. But at this moment, they had lost the repelling force of the human divine inscriptions. All of a sudden, the repelling force was reduced by 90%. In the blink of an eye, even the divine devil divine inscriptions did not have much repelling force at this moment. In a short while, Jin Sheng's aura soared. Willpower swept in all directions. Su Yu's willpower trembled slightly and blocked it for Wulan. He did not have to worry about the others. Jin Sheng's body flashed with light as divine runes appeared one after another. His willpower and divine aperture had reached the standard. The only thing that didn't reach the standard was the divine runes. At this moment, some of the divine runes had advanced to level 3. In the blink of an eye, Jin Sheng's originally cloudy eyes suddenly shone with a golden light. His body had also recovered from its relaxed state and was now slightly lustrous. In less than 10 minutes, Jin Sheng opened his eyes. The aura on his body had already reached Ling Yun's level. Opening his eyes to look at everyone, Jin Sheng said in a daze, I don't feel anything. This little thing is really terrifying. It was too terrifying. He was still talking when the divine runes were gone. 6 of them. Did he still need to fight when he met Su Yu in the air? When a civilized master met Su Yu, he was practically waiting for his death. This little guy probably wouldn't have any difficulty eating the initial stage of Ling Yun's divine runes, which was equivalent to the initial stage of Tier 3 divine runes, right? The intermediate and high-level ones might have some difficulty. However, under normal circumstances, a civilized master mainly cultivated one divine rune, which was the same level as his own. The other divine runes were more or less weak. A civilized master in the 9th stage realm of Ling Yun had 10 divine runes, and perhaps only one of them was at the peak of Tier 3, the rest could be at level 1 or 2. If they were to encounter this hairy ball, it would be terrifying. The few of them thought about how terrifying the little hairy ball was. They were a little worried. Could Su Yu really restrain the other party? As for Su Yu, it was actually very difficult for him to say that he could restrain the little hairy ball. The only thing he could do was that the little hairy ball could not do anything to him. That was because his golden atlas could send the little hairy ball flying and kill him. As for other restraining methods, it was not that Su Yu did not have them. In fact, he also had some, such as the God-expanding hammer. However, the prerequisite was that he had to be stronger than little hairy ball. Su Yu had a vague worry in his heart. Little hairy ball, it was best if its level did not surpass his. Or if it was a little higher than him, then he could still deal with it. If he soared into the air and it reached the mountains and seas, then it would not be a good thing. Suppressing these thoughts, Su Yu smiled and said, "Congratulations, senior brother Jin." Ling Yun had arrived. There weren't any major anomalies. Clearly, Jin Xing didn't have the ability to attract those anomalies. However, being able to enter Ling Yun in an instant and be self-sufficient without affecting the vitality and willpower of the surroundings meant that Jin Xing had a deep foundation. All these years, the only thing that he was lacking was the level of divine prose. Now, in the blink of an eye, he had entered the Ling Yun realm. As for Jin Xing, he was delighted for a while. Very quickly, he said, "The human divine prose really has quite a strong repulsive force." "No, it's very strong. I have the divine prose of the celestial race, the divine prose of the demon race, and the divine prose of the celestial race. In the end, without the divine prose of the human race, the repulsive force of these divine prose of the various races combined isn't even as strong as the divine prose of the human race." Jin Xing said with some excitement, "In this way, as long as some veteran mountains and seas destroy the divine language of the human race, they should be able to advance to the sun and moon realm. That's not right. In other aspects, they also have to meet the standard. If it's just the suppression of the divine language, then they can successfully advance. The human race doesn't cultivate the divine language of the human race." At this moment, Wen Zhong sighed. "I don't know whether it's good or bad. The human race actually couldn't cultivate the human race's divine language." "What was this?" Jin Xing hurriedly said, "Then we can only completely cultivate the human race's divine language. This might be two different paths, completely not cultivating the human race's divine language." When Zhong interrupted, "It was like this more than 300 years ago, completely not cultivating the human race's divine language. Therefore, there isn't a single unrivaled realm civilized master in the human realm. I suspect that only by cultivating the human race's divine language can one become an unrivaled realm civilized master. If that's the case, can Zhou Polong and the others really advance successfully?" At this moment, because of this experiment and some other evidence, Wen Zhong gave this conclusion. Could it be that only by cultivating human divine runes could one advance to unrivaled? Jin Xing said helplessly, "Then I don't know. Besides, not everyone can advance to unrivaled. If they can really advance to sun and moon, who cares if there are sequelae? What do you think?" "That's true." Wen Zhong nodded. What he said was also true. Even if there were side effects, perhaps it was for invincible. For sun and moon, if they didn't cultivate the human divine language, their chances of advancing would be greater. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1393. 1393 Chapter 323 Li Mansion requests for 4. Senior Sister Kong, do you guys want to give it a try? Suyu smiled and looked at the others, Kong Yuxian, Wei Qi, and Chao Hui. Do you guys want to give it a try? At least now, Suyu knew one thing. Jin Sheng would definitely not be blue sky. As for the others, it was hard to say. Do you guys want to give it a try? In his heart, he was actually still a little worried. That fellow blue sky, could he be hiding by my side again? The previous time, it was Zhao Ming. This time, it couldn't be one of the elders, right? If one were to talk about the ones closest to Suyu, it would be these few and Wulan. Wulan, even little hairy ball had nothing to do with her. He had already started to feed her vegetables, so it was naturally impossible. As for the other few, it was hard to say. Chao Hui smiled and said, forget about me. I'm only at the 7th level of the soaring heaven tier. I'll open a few more apertures and enter the 9th level first. I can't bear to leave now. Me too. Wei Qi also smiled and said, Old Chao and I are only at the 7th level and the 8th level of the Jade Immortal realm. Do you want to give it a try, Jade Immortal? Kong Yuxian smiled and said, I don't want to try. I still need a few pieces of human divine runes recently to do some work on extracting willpower. Now that I don't have the divine runes, what can I use for research? If we really die, Junior Brother Su, please help us once. In any case, we have a good idea now. Jin Sheng looked at the others helplessly. So, I'm the only one trying. Guys, you guys are going too far. Don't try to be a good boy after taking advantage of us. Now that you've entered Lingyun, you still have a lot of divine inscriptions left. Why do you still care about this? The few of them were chatting and laughing. Seeing this, Suyu didn't say anything else. Since the 3 elders weren't willing, what else could he do? Should he force them to give it a try? On little hairy ball's side, Suyu did not order it to forcefully drill into their willpower. Among the 3 of them, even if there was blue sky, the other 2 were innocent. There was no need to do this. Moreover, if blue sky really came out, it would not end well. Even if they fought, they would not be able to beat him. Even if they killed him, they might not be able to kill him. At this time, they should not create trouble for themselves. They did not say anything else. Jin Sheng had advanced, and everyone was in a good mood. They ate and drank until late at night. Late at night. Suyu was about to go to the Yuexin Island and Wulan suddenly appeared at the entrance of the research institute. In the middle of the night, Wulan looked at him faintly and snorted. She did not say anything. Suyu smiled and said, What's wrong? You know. What do I know? Stop pretending. Wulan snorted again and pointed her nose at him. Do you take me for a fool? Back then in the Great Xia Manor, I also had a meal. Suyu understood and was a little surprised. Did you guess it? He was actually not that stupid. How strange. Suyu smiled and did not say anything. He sent a voice transmission, go out for a walk. Don't tell anyone. When I go out, many people want to kill me. Wulan snorted and also sent a telepathic message. Are you coming back? Of course. Then forget it. I'll spare you. Don't run away. Even if you do, you have to tell me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come for nothing. You promised me to study the Unity Spirit technique, but you still haven't found it. Wulan said with some grievance and sent a telepathic message. How long will you run? I don't know. I might have to go visit my father. I haven't seen him for a long time. All right. Wulan thought about it and nodded when she heard what he said. It made sense. She had even seen her father during the New Year. Suyu had not even seen him during the New Year. Suyu smiled, he sent a voice transmission, cultivate well. I have left some heaven yuan qi for you to use secretly. Don't let others discover it. Open your mind first. If your willpower doesn't advance, then your physical body will advance. You will quickly soar into the sky and begin to cast your body. You will have some ability to protect yourself. You tell me. Wu Lan looked down at him proudly. I can cultivate by myself. After saying that, she quickly said smugly, I'll be able to use divine runes to extract willpower very soon. Are you done sketching? Su Yu was speechless. Who were you trying to fool? 20 divine runes? How many did you only have? 6 seemed to be it. The key was that the 6 divine runes that you sketched might not be suitable for this battle technique. It's best to draw a picture of the divine language of the human race. The divine language of the human race is weak and doesn't have much effect on you. You don't really fight. You don't fight. Wu Lan snorted again. She was a civilized person who fought on the scientific research line. She was purely a boorish person who fought. Of course, that wasn't what she said when she was in the Great Xia Manor. She had no choice. She had stayed in the Great Ming Manor for half a year and felt the same way. Of course, the main reason was that her combat strength was far behind Su Yu's. Now, she didn't like to talk about combat strength. Who asked her to write the word weak in the divine script? Perhaps even the heavens thought that she was a little weak. It was truly infuriating. Su Yu smiled and did not say anything more. He sent another voice transmission. There are 3 mountain and sea demons in the basement. If you go out, you can ask these 3 demons to escort you. I have already informed them in advance. While I am in seclusion, I will listen to your commands. Of course. Be polite. Be careful that the demons don't betray you. Also, I left a merit card in the cultivation room. It's 400,000 merit points. The Research Institute needs to invest it. Use this money. You can use it yourself. Also, forget it. It's fine. Wu Lan was anxious. She sent another telepathic message. What else? She was so anxious that she couldn't even finish her sentence. Nothing. I mean, if anyone asks, you can go to Yueshin Island and pretend that I'm in seclusion. Don't tell anyone. Principal Nyo will cover for you. I'm just afraid that you don't know how to act. Tisk. Wu Lan ignored him. Who wouldn't know how to act? It was just a small matter. Su Yu gave a few pointers and was about to leave. Wu Lan followed him for a few steps. When Su Yu left without looking back, she suddenly sent a voice transmission, will you really come back? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1394. 1394 Chapter 323 Leaving the Residence 5. Yes. Then if you don't come back, where can I find you? If you don't come back, then don't look for me. Wu Lan pouted and transmitted her voice again, if you don't come back, I'll sell the Research Institute and return to the Great Xia residence. I won't bother with you anymore. Let's go our separate ways. Su Yu laughed, waved his hand, and quickly disappeared into the night. In front of the door, Wu Lan kicked a pillar. She was a little unhappy. He wanted to run away again. My unity technique hasn't come out yet. She had already thought of a name, but Su Yu hadn't developed it yet. He ran around every day. Couldn't they study it together? May 18th. At Daming Civilization University, Chui Lang, who had come to visit his sister who was in closed-door cultivation, walked out with a carefree and happy pace. On the way, he met a few female students and even whistled, causing them to curse at him. This playboy, how dare he? Previously, he kept a low profile and was afraid that the person would come after him. Now that the sun and moon were in closed-door cultivation, this guy started shaking again. Those who were familiar with Chui Lang couldn't help but shake their heads. These geniuses of Daming University weren't any decent people. On the way, Suyu also met an acquaintance, Bai Junsheng. When he saw Cui Lang, he also recognized Cui Lang and teased, "Cui Qingsheng, you have been very carefree recently. Aren't you afraid that the tigress will come to kill you?" Cui Lang did not think much of it. "She has gone to the heavenly battlefield. What am I afraid of? I am going out to have fun today. After a year and a half, I will come back. Xiao Bai, do you want me to bring you with me?" "Forget it." Bai Junsheng said gloomily, "I haven't graduated yet. Do you think I'm like you? You have nothing to do and you should take it easy. Don't fail again this time. By the way, how good are your military forging skills now?" "Better than you, little junior brother." "You can't do it." Bai Junsheng was speechless and couldn't refute. Cui Lang was indeed better than him. He snorted and said, "Just wait. I'm at the 9th layer of the soaring heaven realm. I'm definitely better than you." TCH. Cui Lang sneered again and left with a smile. Without turning his head, he said, "It is the truth to go out and have fun. Once you are done, you will be able to advance. Damn it, I have been suffocating for the past few years. I curse you to meet a female tiger when you go out." Bai Junsheng cursed. Only he knows about having fun. I want to too, but I haven't graduated yet. This guy is really annoying. I curse you, this fellow, to be beaten up as soon as you go out, to be surrounded and killed by women, to be captured by the sun and moon, to force you to get married, so that you won't be reckless in the future. Suyu, who had just walked out of the school gate, suddenly smiled. His smile was incomparably brilliant. His acting skills weren't bad. The sun and moon that were secretly following him didn't seem to be following him anymore. However, he still had to be careful. Previously, he felt that someone was following him. He guessed that it was Zhu Tiandao who sent him. However, he didn't need it. "Don't follow me." This time, he didn't seem to have followed him out. He didn't know if he was fooled or if Su Bin on the island acted realistically. Yes, for the sake of safety, a certain cross-dressing boss was captured by Niu Baidao this time. He pretended to be Su Yu. If Su Yu didn't come back, this fellow would be Su Yu. His only mission was to enter closed-door cultivation. He had to enter closed-door cultivation even if he didn't enter closed-door cultivation. He wasn't allowed to leave, he wasn't allowed to go out, he wasn't allowed to pass on information, and he wasn't allowed to do anything. He was to enter closed-door cultivation. For this, old Nyo had intentionally blown up more than 10 of his acupoints. It was enough for him to recuperate for a period of time. In order to make it more realistic, he had to enter closed-door cultivation. That fellow's ability to change was still very formidable. Niu Baidao, Zhu Tiandao, and the others would not have been able to discover him if not for the supersensing jade. At the same time, in front of the supersensing jade, Hu Qi was alone. A moment later, Niu Baidao's voice was heard. "It's done. That fellow should be out of the city." Hu Qi did not say anything and left silently. On Yueshin Island, the point that represented Su Bin had changed from mountain and sea to Lingyun. That was Su Yu's strength. As the creator and controller, she could still change a person's fixed point. Hu Qi walked out of the main hall and sighed softly. Let's hope that everything goes smoothly. Some of her old friends couldn't hold on any longer. Looking in the direction of the city lord's residence, Hu Qi lowered her head silently. Sorry, teacher was willful for once and secretly changed the supersensing jade's programming. I hope that you can understand. City lord's residence. Zhu Tiandao was lying on a chair listening to a song. He smiled and left. Didn't Shadow follow? Forget it. Let him be. Since he didn't need it, he wouldn't force it. That idiot Shadow only had strength but no brain. Suyu had a dinner last night and he would definitely leave today. You idiot, you're still guarding near Ueshin Island. Serves you right for being a part-time worker. 7th level of the sun and moon, and your brain is only at 7th level of the origin awakening realm. A troublemaker fell from the sky. Why did he cause so much trouble? Humming a small tune and singing a small tune, Suyu might be a troublemaker this time when he left Daming Manor. Whatever. Let that kid suffer a little. Let him understand how much I, old Zhu, love you. Hurry back and earn money for me and cultivate for me. What's the point of going out and having fun? Zhu Tiandao hummed a small tune again. I, Zhu Tiandao, have everything under control. Not far away, Zhu Hongliang, who had just returned home, heard his grandfather singing. He couldn't help but be startled. Good things and bad things. He always felt that nothing good would come out of his grandfather's singing. Could it be that several of his grandfather's old enemies had been hacked to death? How pitiful. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1395. 1395 Chapter 324 Assassination, 1. Northern Alliance City. A large city near the Xing Luo Mountain of the Great Ming Mansion. After crossing the Xing Luo Mountain and walking for a few hundred miles, they would arrive at the Great Xia Mansion, Nanyuan City. The tea houses and restaurants would always be the gathering place for gossip. The Great Ming Mansion did not lack storytellers. Even if there was television, the Great Ming Mansion did not lack storytellers. What was the point of television? It only played those few things over and over again every day. It was not interesting at all. It was not as good as what the storytellers said. Storytellers also had an important social responsibility in the Daming Manor, and they were responsible for spreading gossip. At this moment, in a tea house in Balian City, Suyu sat in a private room with his legs crossed. He leaned back on a chair, drinking tea as he listened to the storyteller's nonsense. On the stage in front, the storytellers spat out, just yesterday, late last night, a Shanghai realm elder from the Daming Manor was assassinated. How lawless. This is going to be a huge mess. Over the past few months, let me calculate for you how many experts have died. First, a mountain and sea commander from Tian Shanghai was assassinated, then a mountain and sea from the Tang Mansion was assassinated, then a mountain and sea from the Great Qi Mansion was assassinated, and last night, a mountain and sea from the Dashang Mansion was assassinated. The storyteller was extremely excited and furious. Over the past few months, 4 mountains and seas have been assassinated in succession. They are all important figures. From the looks of it, they were all done by a group of people. How lawless. Someone said in surprise, the Great Merchant House is not far from us. Even people from the Great Merchant House have been assassinated. Didn't they say that the 6-winged god sect had done it? But their mountains and seas have all been killed. The 2 suns and moons have also escaped. Do they still have the guts to continue? The storyteller sighed. Who knows? Right now, it is a chaotic dance of demons. It is a sign that the world is in chaos. All the major manors have stepped up their patrols. Our Daming manors are still alright. Last time, when the sun and moon attacked, all 5 of them were killed. This can be considered as a shock to those demons. Sigh, these are really troublesome times. These demons actually dared to sneak into the various manors to assassinate the mountains and seas. It's too terrifying. Someone asked curiously, why did they kill these people? Is there anything special about these people? Otherwise, there are so many mountains and seas in the world. Why did they have to kill them? The storyteller smiled and said, you're asking the right person. It was said that these experts had led troops in the heavens battlefield in the past. They were all people with outstanding merits and had killed countless people. Their subordinates were brave and skilled in battle. I suspect that the 10,000 races might want to start a war, so they first assassinated those fierce generals of our human race. As he smiled, his expression changed again, he frowned and said, troublesome. During this period of time, some of the fierce generals who returned have to be more careful. Although our Daming Manor isn't good at fighting, there are still a few fierce generals who have retreated from the front line. If something happens. Sigh. In the private room. Su Yu was deep in thought. The 4 mountains and seas from different manors were all at the mountain and sea realm, and they were all fierce generals from the past. Could it be that the 10,000 clans were really preparing for war? The storyteller's analysis wasn't without reason in his eyes. However, he was really bold. He had killed several mountains and seas in a row, and he still dared to attack. Was it Sun and Moon who had secretly made a move? Just as he was thinking, in the hall, someone said disapprovingly, if you say someone else is a fierce general, then I'll accept it. I still know a little about the mountain and sea that was killed in the great merchant house. In the past, he led his army and was stationed not far from our heavenly Tao army. He wasn't a fierce general, was he? However, he did kill some of the 10,000 races. That guy wasn't a good person. I heard that before the Great War, that guy liked to arrange a civilization division squad on the battlefield. Every time, he would wait for this squad to be killed before he would lead his army to attack and kill those exhausted enemies. There's such a thing. Why haven't we heard of it before? Don't spout nonsense. I've heard that he's quite famous. Forget it if you don't believe me. Anyway, I've heard it from others. He's also from the great merchant house. At that time, we would sometimes meet each other back at the headquarters and have a chat. At this moment, the storyteller also said, is there such a thing? Then I really haven't heard of it. His reputation is quite good. Even if it's as you said, it's probably just a strategic arrangement. We can't say that he's not a fierce general just because of such a small matter. Old Huang, don't talk nonsense. It's better for people to die. Don't let people think that he's a disciple of the 10,000 races and spread rumors. The person who spoke nodded and said with a smile, isn't this in the Great Ming Mansion? I wouldn't dare to say this in the Great Shang Mansion. It was just gossip. As for the evidence, he had only heard rumors. How would he know whether it was true or not? In the private room. Su Yu looked at the person who spoke and a strange idea arose in his mind. He sent out a small team of civilized masters. The civilized masters would fight the enemy first, and then the person would lead an army to kill. This sounded like a bait operation, luring the snake out of its hole. Civilized masters, 10,000 races. Bait, the civilized masters of the multiple divine languages were a good bait. Qin Zhen of the Great Qin Manor had told Su Yu that he had used the multiple divine languages to fish, kill big fish, and even kill the sun and moon. Su Yu felt that if the mountains and seas that had been killed had really sent out civilized masters in the past, they might have been from the multiple divine languages. However, it was only a feeling. Moreover, they were all dead. Su Yu thought about it for a moment and didn't think about it anymore. Over the years, many civilized masters from the multi-god literature department had been killed. This was also a fact. It had something to do with the number of civilized masters from the multi-god literature department. The more they killed, the fewer people they had. Naturally, they would die. In addition, many people from the multi-god literature department liked to go to the battlefield. After all, they were considered combat-type civilized masters. It was normal for them to have a higher death rate. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1396. 1396 Chapter 324 Assassination, 2. Just as Su Yu was thinking about this. Great Xia Manor. Strong nurturing department. Ji Hong looked at the information. It was the information of the 4 generals who had been killed. After a long while, Ji Hong sighed softly and muttered, "Chen Yong, you're going crazy." Others might not have noticed it, but he did notice some details. These 4 people were more or less related to the multi-god literature department. Some of them were not obvious, but compared to the other information he had obtained, over the years, there had been a few multi-god literature department civilized masters who had gone missing or fallen. Over at Heaven Ascension Sea, a few multi-god literature department civilized masters have died over the years. It's not considered a multi-god literature department, but a few people who were banished by Chen Yong have all died there. It was not a one-time thing. It was normal for one to die in 3 to 5 years. After all, the Ascension Sea was the location of the demon race in the sea. It was not a big deal for a weak civilization master to die over the years. However, taking out the information of these people and putting it together, one would find that these people were more or less related to Chen Yong. As for Chen Yong, he was killed that day, and Chen Yong was nearby. Including the Tang and Qi manors, Chen Yong should be in the vicinity. Only the great Shang manors were unable to determine that it was mainly the 2 sun and moon members of the 6 wings god sect who had escaped. Now, there was no one chasing after Chen Yong, they could not find any trace of Chen Yong. He killed 4 Shanghai generals in a row. Ji Hong's eyes were complicated. This was a capital crime. Death was certain. Did Chen Yong have any evidence? Even if he did, it was definitely not irrefutable evidence. Otherwise, if the evidence was irrefutable, those people would have killed the many divine arts civilization masters. Even if they had someone protecting them, Chen Yong would report it to the Great Xia Manor. If the Great Xia Manor had evidence, there was nothing to be afraid of. He did not do so. Clearly, there was not enough evidence to prove everything. He chose to assassinate. If he was discovered, he would definitely die. Assassinating a human general was something that even the religion of the 10,000 races rarely dared to do. Ji Hong sighed in his heart and once again picked up the information of the 4 mountains and seas. These 4 people definitely had some potential connections. Was the invincible person behind them the mastermind? Or did he secretly join the religion of the 10,000 races? Since more than half a year ago, he had been looking up some information, including the names of the civilization masters who had died on the battlefield, where they had died, when they had died, and the army they had served in when they had died. As well as how and who had killed the civilization masters who had died in some places on the human realm. One clue after another was being sorted out by him. Ji Hong closed his eyes. One clue after another was gradually pointing in one direction. He didn't kill so many civilization masters because of personal grudges. At this moment, the clues were all pointing in one direction, but it was still unclear who they were. But, it was actually somewhat clear. These people actually didn't have much to do with each other in the past, but they had a unique characteristic. Most of them had fought together in the heavenly battlefield at the same time, which was the biggest point of their interaction. In other words, during that period, the invincible ones who were in charge of the heavens battlefield were the most likely to be related to them. It was around 70 to 50 years ago, and these people had served in the heavens battlefield at the same time. 20 years. In these 20 years, these people might have been roped in. Who roped them in? Who were the invincible ones who were in charge of the heavens battlefield? There were many unrivaled experts of the human race, and their whereabouts were kept a secret. Apart from the great Qin king, the other unrivaled experts would occasionally patrol the heavens battlefield. Under normal circumstances, an unrivaled expert would need to patrol the heavens battlefield for at least 10 years before they would be replaced. In the Eastern War Zone, there were more than 10 unrivaled experts who were in charge of the battlefield at any time. Who were the unrivaled experts from 70 to 50 years ago? It would be a little difficult to find out. However, it wasn't impossible to find out. If the conjecture was true, then the invincible soldier who had betrayed them was among them. Otherwise, even if he was invincible, he wouldn't have been able to run around and rope in those generals. Did he really think that the invincible soldiers of other great manors were dead? Only by patrolling an area on the battlefield would he have enough time and opportunity to choose and rope in the soldiers. Even if he wanted to recruit someone, he wouldn't do so without a thorough investigation. It must have been Invincible who had discovered something during his patrol and saw something. He must have felt that this person could be recruited, which was why he had stepped forward to recruit him. As for those who had been recruited, it was likely that Invincible had stepped forward personally. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult to move them. Terrifying. Ji Hong thought in his heart. At this moment, he already had some clues. As long as he found out who was in charge of the heavenly battlefield back then, that traitor would be one of them. Although it was still unclear, the target was much smaller. He didn't know exactly how many invincible experts there were in the quest stage and the War God Hall, but there were at least more than 30 of them. In an instant, he could eliminate 2/3 of them. Chen Yong. He thought of Chen Yong again. Chen Yong was in danger. This guy was too crazy. The people he killed might have been roped in by him in the past. Since Chen Yong killed them, he was telling the people behind the scenes that he already had some evidence against him. This is putting yourself in danger. Once you prove that you killed them, even if that invincible expert doesn't show up, once he finds the evidence, he can send people to kill you openly. Ji Hong sighed. Chen Yong. After a moment of silence, Ji Hong closed his eyes and suppressed the palpitations in his heart. He had to be careful. Over the past few days, he had gathered quite a bit of information, some of which were military secrets, which might have attracted some attention. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1397. 1397 Chapter 324 Assassination, 3. Chen Yong. Since you're in front, I'll keep a low profile. Ji Hong's lips curled up slightly. He could only pray that he was careful. Damning manner. After Su Yu finished his tea and listened to the gossip, he got up and left the tea house. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. Su Yu rode on his galloping cloud horse, leisurely and slowly moving forward. He was in a hurry. That was not Cui Lang's style. Cui Lang had to slowly enjoy the beautiful scenery and beautiful women. As he rode out of the city gate, a caravan of merchants was also moving forward. They saw Su Yu riding his horse leisurely in the same direction as them. In this caravan of earth dragon beasts. Very quickly, someone laughed and said, "Brother, this is the direction of the Starfall Mountain and the Great Xia Manor." "Brother, are you going to the Great Xia Manor?" Su Yu turned his head to look and said lazily, "Yes, are you guys going there too?" "Yes." The rough man laughed and said, "Little brother is alone. Although many experts were wiped out at Starfall Mountain last time, it's still a little dangerous. Little brother, why don't you come with us?" Su Yu yawned and said lazily, "There's no need, brother. If you want to take advantage of the situation, just say it. I, Cui Lang, am easy to talk to. You can't hire a bodyguard without spending money." The man laughed out loud. That was true. In this day and age, who didn't have some real ability to walk alone in the wilderness? He saw Su Yu wearing a white robe, which looked like a civilized master's attire. He also walked out of the big city in broad daylight. The guard at the gate was also very polite to him. He guessed that it should be a strong person, so he wanted to call him along. Otherwise, if he really met Su Yu in the wild, he would not dare to ask anyone to join the caravan. "Brother, you are a fast talker. You do have some thoughts." The man laughed for a while and was a little confused. He thought for a while and said, "Cui Lang, brother, are you Cui Lang, the prodigal swordsman?" As soon as he said this, some people in the caravan seemed to remember. Soon, a few female guards in the caravan snorted in a low voice. Cui Lang was quite famous in the Daming prefecture. Of course, he was also famous in the Tang mansion. He was not a good guy. Of course, men could understand, but women were a little unhappy. Scumbag. Su Yu laughed and said, "Brother, do you know me?" He had not gone out for a few years, but he was actually recognized by others. Indeed, geniuses were famous everywhere. "Just because you know me, I will escort you. But I am not in a hurry. Take your time. If you are in a hurry, you can go by yourself." "No hurry, no hurry." The rough man was also overjoyed. Cui Lang had soared high in the sky a few years ago. Now, he might even be in Lingyun. To him, he was considered a big shot. This man had also reached the initial stage of the soaring stage, but he had only opened 36 apertures to enter. Compared to a genius like Cui Lang, the gap was huge. It was already very impressive for a merchant team to have a soaring stage team. Su Yu rode closer and said with a smile, "Brother, I haven't been out for a few years. Are there any outstanding beauties in the Jianghu recently? Can you tell me about the situation?" The women around him grunted again. Su Yu curled his lips and said impolitely, "Ladies, stop grunting. I don't fancy you guys. I, Cui Lang, have very high standards." The man was also extremely embarrassed. He scolded, "What are you guys doing? You don't have any rules. Sir Cui has a good personality, but it's not that you guys don't have the confidence to follow the rules. Sir Cui, don't lower yourself to these people. You're from a small place, so you don't have any knowledge." Cui Lang was either at the 8th or 9th level of the soaring heavens realm or Lingyun. He was indeed a big shot. However, it was said that he had a good temper and liked to flirt with women. If he really had a bad temper, he wouldn't dare to groan. Su Yu waved his hand and said, "It's fine, I'm used to it. When I see my woman, she either smiles or has a sour face. I'm already used to it. Those with a sour face usually don't look good, which means I didn't look her in the eye." The man was embarrassed. It was said that Cui Lang had a poisonous mouth. As expected, the rumors were true. He didn't continue the topic and smiled, "Master Cui. Don't, just call me Brother Lang." The rough man laughed again, but he didn't say much. He quickly said, "There are some beauties, but Brother Lang shouldn't be interested. They are all from some big families, and they are easy to get into trouble." Su Yu's expression changed and he nodded. "It seems that there are people who remember my story. Sigh, one mistake can cause eternal regret." In the team, someone laughed and said, "Sir, the storyteller said your story a few years ago. There were not 100 times, but there were 99 times. It's just that in the past 2 years, he did not say much. Now that you are out, very soon, your story will spread again." The person who spoke was only in the 10,000 stone realm. His words could be considered respectful, but he could not help but smile. There was nothing he could do. He was a little excited when he saw the legendary big shot who was being chased by the 9th level Sun Moon realm. He really wanted to ask, was that 9th level Sun Moon realm granddaughter too ugly? Otherwise, why would he run away? Su Yu said disdainfully, "A bunch of boring fellows. It was those fellows who spread rumors everywhere that caused me to be stuck in the Daming Manor. The storytellers in the Daming Manor should have been cut in half." The leading man also laughed and said, "Brother Lang is right. However, if they were really cut in half, Daming Manor would have lost half of its fun. Brother Lang, this time you're going to the Great Xia Manor. Could it be that you're going to see those beauties of the myriad races?" Su Yu's heart moved slightly as he laughed and said, "All right, the news is really well informed. Have those myriad races students arrived yet?" "It's already late May. They should be arriving soon, right?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1398. 1398 Chapter 324 Assassination, Monthly Subscription, 4. I really don't know about that. The rough man shook his head and said, "It's been 2 months since we went to the Great Xia Mansion. During these 2 months, the Great Xia Mansion was a bit chaotic, so we didn't go there. Now that we heard that the Great Xia Mansion was much quieter, we decided to send some goods there." "What kind of things are they transporting?" Suyu looked at the earth dragon beasts and saw that they were transporting many things. The human realm had a carriage, but it was not suitable for use in the wild. The Great Ming Manor had a riding beast, but the space was not big and the cost was not low. It was not suitable for transporting goods. The Earth Dragon beast was more suitable as it was more cost-effective. Some small things. The rough man smiled and said, "We have everything. There are also some casual works of civilized masters. The Great Ming Manor doesn't lack them. We need them to transport them to the Great Xia Manor. We need them there. Let's make a trip and earn some money for cultivation." Suyu smiled and said, "Literature of will. You dare to sell this? The Daming Mansion doesn't restrict these. The Great Xia Mansion doesn't restrict the outflow and doesn't restrict the importation." The boorish man smiled and said, "It's not worth much money. They are all random works. There aren't many of them. If we're lucky, we can earn a few hundred merit points in one trip. We have so many people to share it with. We can't help it. Itinerant cultivators can't take many missions. In the heavenly battlefield, they aren't from the military. It's too dangerous." Suyu nodded. "It's really tragic. Only a few hundred merit points in one trip, and you have dozens of people here. Unlike me, I can casually forge a few literary soldiers and earn 800 merit points without difficulty." It pierced his heart. The boorish man was also speechless. He knew that Chui Lang was a weapon-forging master, so he also smiled and said, "Brother Lang, do you have any casual works that you don't need? How about? Don't think about it. I'm a soldier forger. I'm here to send beauties, aren't you?" Ha ha ha, Brother Lang is indeed a man of character. The boorish man was also speechless. He forced a smile and thought, "Damn it, you're still a boorish man. Believe it or not, that person from the Tang Mansion is coming for you." Suyu was not moving fast along the way, and the caravan slowed down as well. With a top-level expert following them, it was much safer. It was not a big deal to drag it out. Safety was the first priority. On the way, the rough man said, "The Starfall Mountain has been much more peaceful recently. In the past, we had to take a detour and did not dare to take the Starfall Mountain. In the past, there were many bandits and members of the 10,000 races here. We have to thank Suyu for this. Otherwise, we would have to take a detour of a few hundred miles every time we transport goods." After saying that, the man said again, "However, as time passed, there are bandits gathering here again. However, they are not as strong as before. Most of them are just a few thousand tons of stones. They are extorting some property. There is nothing to kill and steal." Suyu was puzzled. "Then what are you afraid of? You're already airborne." The man sighed. "There's no need. These people are very difficult to deal with. Unless you kill them all at once, they will pester you like flies. For business, there's no need to keep pestering people. However, we have reported to Daming Manor. Let's wait for Daming Manor to send people to encircle them. Now that Daming Manor has tens of thousands of strong troops, they are all airborne. TSK, they are really powerful. Any 100-man team would probably be able to eliminate them." Suyu nodded slightly and said with a smile, "I wonder if there are any beauties among the bandits." These 3 sentences were all about women. The rough man was also speechless. Of course, he gradually got used to it and said with a smile, "Brother Lang, there may not be any beauties, but when we reach the great Xia manor, there won't be a lack of them. I'll treat you later. TSK, forget it. The place you're going is too low class." "Ha ha ha, Brother Lang is right. It's too poor. There's nothing we can do about it." The two of them chatted as they walked. Suyu also inquired about the recent situation of the Great Xia Mansion. There weren't any major events. The only thing was that Xia Xiaoxi was scolded by others, and the Great Xia Civilization Academy was going to recruit more students from all clans. At the end of the conversation, what the man said attracted some of Suyu's attention. "Brother Lang, you have to be careful when you go to the Great Xia Manor. I know Brother Lang's habits, and I don't want to provoke the disciples of large families. However, there are many disciples of large families in the Great Xia Manor now. It's said that the disciples of the two great holy lands have come to the Great Xia Manor to study." The man reminded, among them, there are unrivaled king descendants. The sun and moon descendants are even more numerous. Adding on the people from the 10,000 clans, the Great Xia Manor is currently in a mess and can be considered peaceful. That's because the Great Zhou Manor isn't too peaceful recently. Anyway, after this shipment, I might not be able to come to the Great Xia Manor to do business in the future. Suyu nodded. The descendants of the great clans. How many were there? Many unrivaled descendants came. They were all here for Hong Tan's splitting method. As they walked, they chatted. The group of people entered the Starfall Mountains domain. Half a day later, Suyu killed a guy who had just entered the sky with a single sword strike. With a snort, under the gaze of the boorish man's adoration, he said in a clear voice, "I, Chui Lang, entered the Starfall Mountain. It's fine if I don't receive beauties, but I still dare to block the road and rob. I'm still in the sky, but I actually did such a dirty thing. Disgusting, isn't it?" Silence. The people in the caravan all had looks of worship on their faces. Regardless of whether it was true or not, there was definitely some worship. Amazing. He killed a man in the air with a single sword strike. In the air, only that rough man was in their caravan. This meant that Chui Lang could also kill the leader with a single sword strike. No wonder the leader was so polite to Chui Lang. The name of a person, the shadow of a tree. Chui Lang, who had not left the capital city for a few years, seemed to have become even more powerful. He was indeed worthy of being the genius that had stirred up a heated discussion between the two big manors in the past. Suyu did not pay too much attention to this. Instead, he was thinking, where did this soaring sky come from? These people were from the myriad clans, right? Not necessarily. They might have been sent by someone else. As for the reason, perhaps it was to search for the ruins that he had mentioned previously. Of course, even if Suyu had said that the ruins were fake, there might not be anyone who would believe it. This place was not far from Nanyuan, and it felt like there might indeed be ruins here. These people might not be from the myriad clans, but they might have been sent by some people to search for the ruins. Of course, since they were so weak, it was more likely that they were on sentry duty. Anyway, even if there were experts, they probably would not dare to make a move. Find the relic and keep a low profile. Chui Lang was also a famous person in Daming Manor. If he died here, Daming Manor would definitely send people to investigate. If they attracted experts, it would be troublesome. As expected. Not long after Suyu and the others left, someone came to the side of the person who had just been killed and took a look at the corpse. He said in a low voice, "Chui Lang. Niu Bendao's in-name disciple. If it wasn't for that person, Niu Bendao would have taken him in long ago." This guy ran out. Soon, another person appeared beside him. He smiled and said, "That person is in closed-door cultivation. It's normal for him to come out and wander around at this time. Forget it, don't cause trouble. This guy isn't someone to be trifled with." There's no need to take revenge for a dead person. It's not good for this guy to stop anyone but Cui Lang. That guy must have been suffocating for the past few years. That's true. The two of them talked for a while. Soon, one of them said, "It's very likely that there really isn't any star-falling mountain. Otherwise, Suyu wouldn't have been exposed. That guy from Daming Manor didn't care about this place either. Do you think it's still in Nanyuan?" "It's possible, but we can't go there. There's the sun and moon there. It's too dangerous." Sigh. The person who spoke sighed, invincible relic. If we can really go in, even if we can't become invincible, the sun and moon shouldn't be difficult anymore. What a pity. There's nothing to be sorry about. I feel that the great Xia Manor will fall into chaos sooner or later. The expert stationed at the southern Yuan might leave soon. After all, we haven't found anything yet. Then we might not be able to find it. Let's try our luck. This thing doesn't mean that it's yours if you have sufficient strength. Suyu only started when he inherited it. The two of them chatted for a while and soon disappeared from where they were. As for the dead, no one cared. As for Cui Lang, there was no need to care about him. He was not a must-kill target. Killing him would not bring any benefits, and he would also cause trouble for himself. If they really killed Cui Lang, the Daming Mansion would not care, but the Tang Mansion might as well. It was their business to fight and kill. It might even be his grandson-in-law. At this moment, Suyu turned around and looked behind him. He smiled at the two Ling Yun realm cultivators. He didn't know which family they were from or whether they were from the Wan clan sect. Forget it, there was no need to bother with them. With Cui Lang's character, he wouldn't bother with matters that had nothing to do with him. There was no need to expose anything just to kill the two Ling Yun realm cultivators. Nan Yuan was about to arrive. He would arrive at Nan Yuan in a day at most after leaving Starfall Mountain. "I'm back." Suyu looked ahead and couldn't see anything, but he still sighed. He was back. He hoped that this small city would be peaceful forever, but it was a pity that he was born here. The invincible ruins had also touched the hearts of many people. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1399. 1399 Chapter 325 was not going to be reasonable one. Nanyuan. When he saw this small city, Suyu was a little absent-minded. However, Suyu quickly regained his composure. When he looked at this small city again, a hint of gloominess could not help but appear in the depths of his eyes. This place was not quite the same. Beside him, the rough man also heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Nanyuan's small city. Once they were inside the city, the safety would greatly increase. Next would be the shipment. There would not be much trouble. "Brother Lang, thank you for the escort along the way." The boorish man laughed heartily and said, "There won't be any trouble once we reach southern Yuan. We'll try our best to ship the goods in southern Yuan." Suyu said in surprise, "Southern Yuan? I remember that southern Yuan isn't some trading point. Is there someone buying it here?" "There wasn't before, but there is now. There are many people here now." The rough man knew that he had not gone out for a few years. He explained, "Isn't this Suyu's old home?" "Brother Lang, you know what I mean even if I don't say it. The Xia family has never found the relic that Suyu inherited. The others are trying their luck, but Suyu himself doesn't dare to come back now." He chuckled and said, "There are quite a number of people who come to try their luck. There are quite a number of people here. The Xia family originally did not allow outsiders to come. Later, someone spread a rumor saying that they did not allow outsiders to come. Could it be that Manor Head Xia is hiding here in seclusion to prepare for his Dao?" The Xia family did not object later on. Rather than secretly coming here, it is better to let people come openly. Suyu smiled faintly and said, "Ruins? Su Yu was born here and the ruins are here. That's not necessarily true, right? The chances are higher. Since everyone is interested, there's nothing we can do about it. The rough man said a few words and said with a smile, Brother Lang, why don't you take a look around? The ruins will definitely be interested in geniuses and not geniuses. There's no hope for us. Brother Lang is a genius, so the chances are not small. Genius? Hee hee. Right at this moment, a group of earth dragon beasts galloped over from afar. The youth in the lead, riding on a soaring sky realm tiger, heard the conversation between the two of them and sneered. He didn't want to say anything more as the demonic beasts were about to pass them. It was just a casual remark. They didn't even bother to pay attention to it. Riding on a galloping cloud horse, what was there to pay attention to? He didn't pay attention to Su Yu, but Su Yu's gaze turned cold. One by one, they came to my hometown to search for the remains. I haven't even said that I'll agree. This time, I came out to find something to do. The point of entry wasn't bad. Just as the youth was about to pass him, a sword light descended from the sky. How dare you? Behind the youth, a person shouted in a low voice. With a poochie sound, that person was just about to move when the head of the multicolored fierce tiger beneath the youth was chopped off with a poochie sound. With a bang, the youth was brought to the ground by the dead demonic beast and fell to the ground. He hurriedly flipped and leaped, barely managing to stand. In front of him, a few people instantly appeared. A middle-aged man with a scar on his face looked at Su Yu, his expression unsightly as he said, "Who are you? How dare you attack the descendants of Sun and Moon within the borders of the Great Xia Manor?" Su Yu chuckled and said, "Don't give me that trick. When your Lord Lang was outside, what world did he not see?" Su Yu sneered and looked at the youth who was looking at him angrily. He said playfully, "Kid, which family are you from? You haven't suffered before, right? Trying to strike up a conversation in the middle of the road, do you think everyone is your father? Doting on you? You're just a little brat. If it wasn't for the fact that I saw you, I would have said this and chopped your head off at the city gate. You." The middle-aged man with a scar in front of him waved his hand and stopped the young man from speaking. He said in a deep voice, "It's my young master's recklessness. But this young master killed my young master's mount without saying a word. He has to leave his name." "Fine, I won't change my name, I won't change my surname. Great Ming Mansion's Chui Lang." Su Yu smiled. "Do you know him? Which family are you from? Tell me, let's see if Master Lang can afford to offend him." "Chui Lang." The middle-aged man with a scar thought for a moment before frowning slightly. "The prodigal swordsman, Chui Lang. You're out." Su Yu widened his eyes. "Why, does Master Lang need to report to you when he's out? Don't think that just Ling Yun is enough. I've seen mountains, seas, and the sun and the moon. If a trash like you, Ling Yun, wants to cause trouble, you try." The commotion outside the city also attracted the attention of some people in the surroundings. At this moment, there were also some people on the city walls. That middle-aged man was indeed in the Ling Yun realm, but he was only in the initial stage. At this moment, he also knew who he was facing. The prodigal swordsman, Chui Lang. Or rather, the playboy swordsman, Chui Lang. This fellow was not a fighter, but a civilized master. He insisted on giving himself the title of swordsman. Behind him stood a giant at the 7th stage of the Sun-Moon realm, Niu Baidao of Daming Mansion. In addition, the one from Tang Mansion, it was not appropriate for outsiders to say anything. If Chui Lang really agreed to marry into the family, he might have another giant at the 9th stage of the Sun-Moon realm as his backer. This was something that could not be said. Seeing that the young man behind him was still a little indignant and had never heard of this name, the middle-aged man was not surprised. Chui Lang had not appeared for several years. He stopped the youth from continuing to speak, the middle-aged man said in a deep voice, "It's all a misunderstanding. My young master has no other ill intentions. It's just that it's his first time leaving the clan and he's still young. Brother Lang doesn't need to take it to heart. If this multicolored tiger dies, then so be it. Brother Lang should also vent his anger." Uncle Scar. The youth was somewhat displeased. "The other party killed my mount. This was something that the clan had paid a great price to tame for him." Uncle Scar said in a low voice, "It's fine. It's all a misunderstanding. Young master, you must be careful with your words in the future." The youth was somewhat indignant, but he roughly knew that he had encountered someone who was not to be trifled with. He could only suppress his anger and remain silent. Su Yu laughed disdainfully. He rode his horse and leisurely walked forward. "Forget it. I won't argue with a little brat. I'm a person who's easy to talk to. Change to a petty person. With your words, if I don't make a move now, when you leave the city and there's no one around, I'll secretly kill you. I don't even know how I died. A few years ago, Master Lang wandered the Jianghu. I've seen this kind of thing many times." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1400. 1400 Chapter 325 was not prepared to be reasonable too. How many geniuses and proud sons of large families feel that they are amazing? If they did not experience the cruel beatings of society, they would have died miserably. Master Lang also narrowly escaped death. After many times, he finally understood a principle. When you go out, if you meet someone who is difficult to provoke, pretend to be a grandson. If you meet someone who provokes you, *ck him. Uncle Scar didn't say anything. The youth's face was full of anger, but he didn't say anything else. Besides Su Yu, the rough-looking middle-aged man and the others were also silent. They were escorting the goods without saying a word. It was best not to get involved in such matters. On the city wall. At this moment, there were quite a few people. In the past, there were only a few people in Nanyuan City, and they were also the strongest. Now, in less than a few months, Nanyuan City had undergone great changes. At this moment, there were even mountains and seas on the city wall. Everyone saw and heard the noise outside the city. Someone laughed in a low voice, "It's that guy Chui Lang." "Who is it?" Some people didn't know him, but after asking around, they soon found out. So that's how it was. He slept with a granddaughter at the 9th level of Sun Moon Realm, and he was still able to be free and unfettered. There was no need to say anything else. Who are those guys? They seem to be from the Hao family of the De Yuan mansion. Hao family. Sun Moon family. Hao family. I remember now. He's from the Heaven Overseeing Department of the De Yuan mansion, isn't he? Someone from his family has come. He's from a branch family, not a branch family. He has a mountain and sea Dao protector, so he should be from a branch family. A branch family. I have to endure it. It's fine if he's a direct descendant, but if he's from a branch family, it won't end well for him to offend Chui Lang. Chui Lang's Chui family didn't have many experts, but they had the sun and moon magnates behind them. There were 2 of them. If you were a direct descendant of the sun and moon, how could you touch them? Forget about the branch family. If you weren't as powerful as them, you had to endure it. Chui Lang isn't weak. He killed a 6th level demon with 1 strike. This guy was at the 8th or 9th level a few years ago. Now, he might be close to Ling Yun, or he might already be Ling Yun. Wouldn't it be easy to kill a 6th level demon? Why is this guy here? Who knows? That person from the Tang mansion is in closed-door cultivation. He probably came out to relax. Everyone discussed in low voices. Su Yu rode his horse to the city below. He looked at the city wall and felt depressed. There were quite a number of strong people here. However, he had a smile on his face. Yo, there are so many friends here. As he said that, he casually greeted him with a smile and said, that's Brother Wang, right? Do you still remember the days when we went whoring together in the Great Song Manor for free? Sigh, the past is like smoke. The face of a young man who was pointed at by him changed, and he said speechlessly, Brother Chui, we've only met once. We've only met once, but there's nothing like what you said. You've mistaken me for someone else. My surname isn't Wang either. Someone laughed and said, Wang. It can't be Wang Chi from the Great Song Manor, right? Brother Lang, you haven't come out for so many years that you've forgotten your name, right? Su Yu laughed and said, I don't care. A name is just a form of address, and you can call it as you wish. We've only met by chance, so there's no need for us to know each other. Everyone, are you all here to look for Su Yu's remains? Did you find anything? How about you bring me along? Don't worry, I won't snatch it even if you find it. Let me see if there are any living ancient beauties in the ruins. Everyone was speechless. You really dare to say that? Su Yu stepped on the ground and flew up into the air, directly flying up to the city wall. He looked left and right and said with a smile, that's strange. The Xia family doesn't care about outsiders like us anymore. They're just casually going up to the city wall to visit. As he said that, he looked at the young man who called him Brother Wang just now and said with a smile, Brother Wang. My surname is Huang. Oh, Brother Huang. Su Yu laughed and said, so what if it's Huang? It's all the same. Brother Huang, why aren't there any experts from the Great Xia mansion here? At least, there were no experts from the military. There were only a few soldiers present. All of them soared into the air and did not make a sound as they guarded the surroundings. Even when he flew up, no one bothered with him. If this was in the past, it would not have worked. The young man was helpless, he could only explain, the strength of the southern Yuan is not strong, and it is difficult for them to mobilize their troops over. The meaning of the Great Xia Manor is to not look for trouble and not harass the citizens. Then, be more casual. As for harassing the citizens and disrupting the daily operations of the southern Yuan, there will naturally be people coming to look for you. I see. Su Yu nodded and smiled, I knew it. I just killed a demonic beast, but no one said anything. Didn't the Great Xia Manor also say that the outsiders kill each other and they don't care? Brother Lang really knows it. The young man also said with a smile, it's like this. Under Lord Xiao's orders, the safety of the outsiders will not be taken care of. However, if you break the place and break something, you will have to pay 100 times the compensation. If you pay the compensation, then he won't care about you. If you have the ability, then you can do whatever you want. It's Lord Xiao's personality. Su Yu nodded with a smile and looked at the group of people who had just arrived at the city wall. He crossed his arms and said with a smile, this kid actually dares to insult me. I was worried about trouble before, hee. This kid, which family is he from? If he's not strong enough, I'll just kill him later. Brother Lang. Someone interrupted, he's from the Hao family of the Sun and Moon family of the De Yuan mansion. Don't bother about such a small matter. A child should still cultivate his character. He just left the house, so why bother with this kid? Su Yu laughed and didn't say anything. Below, the scar-faced Ling Yun realm cultivator also heard what Su Yu said and frowned slightly. He cupped his hands towards the city wall and said, Brother Chui, it's all a misunderstanding. The child spoke rudely. When I go back, I'll ask the patriarch to teach him a lesson. Brother Chui, why are you scaring the child? Su Yu smiled and said, I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously. The child is so cute. How could I bear to kill him? I, Chui Lang, have been wandering the Jianghu for so many years. It has been almost 10 years since I was 25 years old. The people I have killed are just a drop in the bucket. How can I casually kill people? Isn't that a joke? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1401. 1401 Chapter 325 was not going to be reasonable. 3. The middle-aged Scar felt helpless. It was really troublesome. He had just arrived at Nanyuan and already met such a guy. It was probably because he had been holding back for the past few years and was looking for someone to vent his anger on. Brother Chui, please forgive me. Tonight, I will bring young master to visit Brother Chui. Brother Chui, please do me the honor. Su Yu laughed and said, forget it. Just for this old brother, it's just a small matter. It's nothing. We're all here to make a living. Give each other some face and remember not to spout nonsense. Look at me. If I meet an invincible descendant, then I have to pretend to be a grandson. If I meet a descendant of sun and moon, everyone just got better. At most, I'll go to the Tang mansion. F***ck. Some people cursed in their hearts. Weren't you unwilling? Now you want to go to the Tang mansion. A bastard who lives off a woman. Shameless. However, when he said that, everyone felt helpless. If he really went to seek refuge with the Tang Empire, an ordinary person from the Sun-Moon family might not be able to beat him. Su Yu smiled and walked down the city wall. As he walked, he said, look around. If we can get any relics, we'll be rich. Oh right, how do I get to the city lord's mansion? I'll go and have a chat with the city lord. Also, other than Lu Wenyan, does teacher Su Yu have any other family members? I'm also from Daming Manor. I'll pay a visit to my family. Brother Huang, why don't you come with me and pay a visit to Su Yu's residence? Do you know where his residence is? The young man's expression changed slightly, and he quickly said, I'll go with you. Go and take a look at Su Yu's house. This place was hard to say. Chui Lang was really reckless. He wanted to go to Su Yu's house as soon as he arrived. He hurriedly followed Su Yu, regardless of the other people's expressions. He quickly followed and said, Brother Lang, I came a few days earlier than you, so I do have some understanding. Su Yu still has a few teachers here, including the head of Nanyuan Middle School. However, the other party has a public position in Great Xia, so it's not easy for us to get in touch with them. After saying that, he added, as for Su Yu's family, there are people from the Dragon Martial Guards outside, so it's not easy to barge in. Su Yu smiled and said, it's fine. My chief teacher is the head of the NIU Academy, and Su Yu has a good relationship with my teacher. As for me, I can be considered his senior brother. We're family, and we're family. Let's take a look at my brother's house. It's not a big deal. We're looking for the ruins, and it's above board. We're not thieves, right? Su Yu himself doesn't remember where the ruins are. He specially asked me to look for them. Do you think there's something wrong with that? When the people at the back heard these words, they were speechless. How shameless. Chui Lang was still the same as before. Even Chui Lang might not have seen Su Yu, yet he had become your brother. With Chui Lang's level, he might have seen Su Yu in the Daming Manor. However, to say that they had a good relationship was pure nonsense. Everyone knew that Su Yu had befriended almost all of the sun and moon experts of the mountains and seas in Daming Manor. They were all honored guests of the manor head. The Daming Manor placed great importance on Su Yu, so how could Su Yu have the time to pay attention to Chui Lang? City Lord Manor. The city lord was still Wu Wenhai. However, the current Wu Wenhai seemed a little old. When he saw Su Yu, Wu Wenhai was also very calm. As the city lord of the Great Xia Manor, his strength was weak, but his status was not low, even though Nan Yuan was very weak. He met Su Yu, or rather, Chui Lang, because the other party came from the Great Ming Mansion and graduated from the Great Ming Civilization Academy. He was Niu Bendao's in-name disciple. When they met, Wu Wenhai did not stand on ceremony. He directly said, "Brother Cui, if you are here to look for the ruins, feel free to do so. Just do not disturb the others. As for the others, if you know anything, it would not be your share. It would have been taken away by the Great Xia Mansion long ago. When I saw Brother Cui, I just wanted to ask if Su Yu was doing well in the Great Xia Mansion." Su Yu smiled and said, "He's fine. He's just injured. When I left, he went to my teacher's territory to cultivate in seclusion. Before I left, he even told me to go to his house to take a look and help him clean up. City Lord, can I go and take a look?" Wu Wenhai looked at him suspiciously. After a long while, he said in a deep voice, "Are you sure?" "Ahem. I'm sure, I'm sure." Su Yu laughed dryly. It was obvious that his attitude was not real. Wu Wenhai frowned slightly and said, "You said that Su Yu asked you to go, so you can go. You have to bear the consequences. Since you know Su Yu, you should also know that Su Yu is not a magnanimous person. If you use his name to break into his private house, I won't say anything else. You should weigh it yourself." Su Yu laughed dryly and said, Of course, of course. It's fine. My teacher has a good relationship with him. I'll really help him clean up. It's been so long since anyone has lived here. The house must have been dusty, right?" Beside him, the young man surnamed Huang was also impressed. It was not easy for him to lie to such an extent. Wu Wenhai was not interested in chatting with him. He asked a few more questions about Su Yu, waved his hand, and directly sent Su Yu away. When Su Yu was about to leave, Wu Wenhai said indifferently, "In the southern Yuan, this is the territory of the Great Xia Manor after all. Everyone, please abide by the rules. If anything happens, no one is willing." Of course, of course." Su Yu replied with a laugh. When he left the city lord's manor, he laughed and said, "Let's go to Su Yu's house." "Brother Lang, are you really going?" "Of course. But, forget it. I didn't invite you to go. If you go, Su Yu's troubles in the future will have nothing to do with me. I'm only responsible for protecting myself." The young man surnamed Huang was speechless. He said gloomily, "That's not what you said before. We agreed to bring me along." You must be joking. It's fine if you want to go with me. In any case, I'm serious. If Su Yu really picks a fight, I'm not afraid. I'll just go to his house to take a look and clean up. My teacher is familiar with him, but you're not familiar with him. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1402. 1402 Chapter 325 was not going to be reasonable for. The young man surnamed Huang was a little hesitant. After a long while, he said, "Then you can go in. I'll wait for you outside. Brother Lang, if you really find something, remember brother." "Of course." Su Yu smiled and walked to the entrance of his own residential area. At this moment, the Dragon Martial Guards were stationed at the entrance of this residential area. The one guarding the residential area was none other than an old acquaintance, Xia Bing. The head of the Dragon Martial Guards, who was stationed in the southern Yuan, had now reached the 4th level of the Soaring Heaven realm. His strength had improved quite a bit, but he was still much weaker compared to these outsiders. Seeing Su Yu and the young man surnamed Huang, Xia Bing frowned and looked at the two of them. The few Dragon Martial Guards also looked at them covetously. These two were obviously outsiders. Some of the residents of the residential area who had gone out swept a glance at the two of them. An old man cursed, "Damn it, all kinds of birds are running towards us. When that brat from the Su family comes back, he will drag all of them to the myriad clan's pit and chop off their heads." He had a fiery temper. There was nothing they could do. Some of the commoners of the Great Xia Manor might be weak, but their tempers were really not weak. There were more retired soldiers. They had killed for many years, and they were in the territory of the Great Xia Manor. How could they be afraid of them? And that was not all. Su Yu was slightly stunned. Suddenly, he was pulled away by the young man surnamed Huang. An old man with a broken arm was ramming toward him. Su Yu was pulled away, but the old man hit nothing. The old man with the broken arm was a little depressed. He glared at the young man surnamed Huang and cursed, F***ck, you're bullying me, ramming me. As he said that, he left. Su Yu was slightly distracted. The young man surnamed Huang said telepathically, be careful. The people in this place are more hostile towards us. What the Great Xia Mansion means is, don't harass them, don't touch them, hit you, you're fine. If you hit him to death, you're dead. The descendants of the sun and moon are also dead. These old men and old ladies are more deceitful. They're all quite vicious. A few days ago, a guy riding a demonic beast didn't notice. An old man bumped into him and was hit to death by a demonic beast. In the end, that guy was scratched and his head chopped off. Su Yu's heart trembled slightly. Someone died. That was true. The southern Yuan people were still very fierce. The city was small, and many people were actually very familiar with it. Su Yu was still fine. He only knew a few people around him, but his father, Su Long, knew many people. In the southern Yuan, there was almost no one who did not know Su Long. Now, his son seemed to have obtained something amazing, and in the end, he was persecuted and chased away. There were also foreign bastards who wanted to take Su Yu's things. In the eyes of the southern Yuan people, they were bandits who had entered the house. If the Great Xia clan did not kill them, the southern Yuan people would find an opportunity to kill them. Using the lives of old men and old ladies in exchange for a few experts and a few geniuses to deliver knives to the Great Xia clan. This was something that everyone was familiar with. Su Yu was silent for a moment, then he smiled and said, according to what you mean, the southern Yuan people are really ruthless. What do you think? The youth surnamed Huang said gloomily, those who just came here are somewhat unclear of the situation. Some people saw these people ramming into their bodies, do you know the consequences? In any case, be careful here. No matter what, this is still the territory of the Great Xia Manor. It's fine if you don't cause trouble, but if you do, the Great Xia Manor doesn't mind killing a few to make an example of you. His words were spoken from the perspective of outsiders. As for Su Yu, he only knew that someone from the southern Yuan had died. Because of him. Yes, regardless of how old these southern Yuan people were or how weak they were, regardless of whether they were the pride of the southern Yuan people or not, the other party had died because of him. Someone had died. At this moment, Su Yu's heart was filled with complicated emotions. He actually did not care about these fellows coming to search. He himself did not even know if there were any relics in the southern Yuan people. He had just returned and only wanted to take a look at his home and his acquaintances. But now, he heard that someone had died for him. At this moment, he suddenly hated these foreign fellows. In the eyes of the southern Yuan people, these people were bandits. What right do you have to search, and snatch my own things? As for the outsiders, they might feel that this ancient ruin was not destined to belong to anyone. If Su Yu could inherit it, why couldn't we? What was left behind by the ancient human race was not your family's. Both sides stood at different angles and had different thoughts. Su Yu did not think too much about it. At this moment, he regained his smile and looked at Xia Bing. Sir, I am a friend of Su Yu. The city lord has already agreed to let me go to his house to take a look. Sir, please let me in. Xia Bing coldly glanced at him. Very quickly, he said in a low voice, Cui Lang of the Great Ming Mansion. You can go in. Huang He, you cannot go in. The young man surnamed Huang paused and was speechless. Forget it, I won't go in if I don't go in. Suyu smiled and walked towards the residential area. As he walked, he asked, which building is it, which room? Xia Bing didn't say anything, but Huang He knew. He quickly shouted, Building 4, 302. Got it. Suyu walked in. In the residential area, some people were chatting, but when they saw Suyu, they looked at him with cold faces. Suyu smiled and did not care. When he reached his house, he was still smiling, but he was a little angry. Someone had come to my house. Someone was inside. He went upstairs and the door was half open. Suyu laughed and said, Someone came before me. Soon, a few people in the house looked at him. He was a little surprised. Suyu did not know many people and did not see any familiar faces. However, one of them should be someone from the Great Xia government. When he saw Suyu, he was also puzzled. You are Cui Lang from the Great Ming government. Suyu smiled and looked into the house. He smiled and said, It's already so chaotic. I say, you guys are really too much. This is my brother Suyu's home. I'm here to clean up the place. It's very difficult for me to explain the mess that you guys have made. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1403. 1403 Chapter 325 was not going to be reasonable 5. Suyu. Several people looked at him. There were young people and middle-aged people. The official did not know the exact situation, so he said, Cui Lang, do you know Suyu? Ahem, just treat it as an acquaintance, a friend, a friend. In the room, including this person, there were 5 people in total, excluding Suyu. The other 4 people were 2 men and 2 women, a middle-aged man and a middle-aged woman. The other 2 were young people, and they were also a combination of men and women. Cui Lang, the young man seemed to have remembered. He smiled and said, Cui Lang. I remember now. The last director of the Tang Mansion, is it? After he said that, the other people also remembered who Cui Lang was. Suyu laughed and said, Yo, I seem to be quite famous. Who are you? Zhou Hongba of Suo Academy. Aries College's Lu Han. Yo, people from the 2 Holy Lands, I apologize for my disrespect. Suyu cupped his fists and entered the room. He looked around and found that the sofa in the living room was already damaged. In the kitchen, a lot of dishes were broken. He walked to the bedroom to take a look. Suyu suppressed the anger in his heart. He squatted down and picked up a photo frame. It was a photo of him and his father. Suyu had a smile on his face. Turning his head, he asked, Was this place robbed? How did it end up like this? The official from the Great Xia Mansion sighed. A few days ago, someone lured away the experts guarding this place. This place has been infiltrated. After saying that, he smiled and said, This place is actually nothing. If there really was one, it would have been discovered long ago. You guys wouldn't believe me if I told you. Now that you've seen it, the experts who infiltrated that day didn't discover anything. Suyu didn't wait for them to speak and laughed, Everyone, this is a private residence, my brother Suyu's territory. You guys just barge in like that? The Grand Xia Manor casually brought people here to barge into other people's homes? That official shrugged his shoulders and smiled, but didn't say anything. It wasn't easy to stop the people from the 2 great sacred grounds. That young man Zhou Hongba faintly smiled, Brother Cui, you've misunderstood. We're only here to investigate and see if we can find out who sneaked in here and see if we can find that person. Suyu's home was stolen and we're only here to help investigate the case. Suyu nodded. I see. Have you found out? No, the person who came isn't weak. The 2 Holy Lands don't even have this bit of ability. Suyu smiled and said, I've really overestimated you. Zhou Hongbo was not angry and smiled. It's not that easy. If we can lure away the guards and then sneak in, our strength will probably be as strong as the sun and the moon. It's not that simple. That's true. Suyu stood up and looked at the room, then looked at the dilapidated state and smiled. My beautiful youth. The last time I came back, everything was fine at home. Today, when I came back, everything had changed. If his father had come back, he probably wouldn't have recognized this room as his own home. When he was young, he loved to play and made the house dirty. His father, who had a strong build, had to lie on the ground and clean the floor properly. He cherished it very much, afraid that he wouldn't clean it properly. The apron that had been used for 3 years and 3 years was now thrown on the ground like a rag. Zhou Hongbo also saw the photo frame on the bedside table. He smiled and said, Director Sun, can we talk to Su Long? The middle-aged man who was called Director Sun shook his head and said, that won't do. Su Long is serving in the military. Outsiders cannot see him. What a pity. The young man looked at the middle-aged man next to him. The middle-aged man said in a low voice, wasn't Su Long arranged to be in the rear headquarters area? Maybe we can talk to him. I think it's better to find out if there are any relics in the southern Yuan as soon as possible. Now that the people are in chaos, many people are staring at this side. Then we have to ask the Marquis. Director Sun smiled and said, it's all right to take a look at the house. Go and look for Su Long. I can't make the decision on this. Master Ho has to agree. The few of them frowned. It would be very troublesome to look for Master Xia Ho. Suyu smiled and said, everyone, you've already seen it. It doesn't matter if I'm Suyu's friend or not. At the very least, I have an excuse to clean up. Please make way for me. I'll clean up a little. The next time I meet Suyu, I can still find an excuse to get close to him. Don't block me. Everyone looked at him. Soon, Zhou Hongbo smiled and said, then Brother Cui can clean up. We won't bother you anymore. They had already seen it. There was no point in staying any longer. The few of them smiled and left quickly. Suyu waited for them to leave. His smile was still the same. His willpower fluctuated and he started to clean up. As usual, he was full of smiles and humming a tune. He was in a good mood. After a long while, he walked to the bedroom again and wiped the dust off the photo frame and the footprints. He collected all the footprints, all the dust, and all the scent. My house is not random. He came here and made my house look like a garbage heap. It's really not suitable. He did it. My father and I are taking a picture together, and you still want to step on it, are you all blind? Walking to the window, Suyu glanced at the few people who had left downstairs, and a smile appeared on his face. Are you interested in the 2 great holy lands? Did the great Xia mansion charge you for bringing people to visit my house? Who is this Director Sun? Did he bring people here on his own initiative, or did it come from Waiter Xia? My house can be entered so easily. You don't even need to ask the owner. The master isn't dead yet. Downstairs, Zhou Hongbo turned around and saw Suyu by the window. Suyu waved at him with a smile on his face. Zhou Hongbo smiled and said telepathically, Teacher, is this Cui Lang related to Suyu? He is Niubandao's in-name disciple. He might have met Suyu before. Relationship, what relationship could there be? The middle-aged man did not think much of it. Cui Lang said that he was a friend, but you really believed him. That guy was full of nonsense. He was not telling the truth. Zhou Hongbo nodded and did not ask any more questions. In the room, Suyu had finished cleaning up. He smiled and picked up a small ball of dust in his hand. The next moment, he transmitted his voice in his mind, eat it and identify its taste for me. No. the little furball strongly rejected him. No. He couldn't eat this. It was dirty. Eat it, I'll make something delicious for you later. Hurry up, or else you won't have anything to eat in the future. The little furball was extremely resistant. He was so aggrieved that he wanted to cry but no tears came out. He really couldn't eat it. It smelled too bad. However, it smelled so good that it seemed to be very angry. At this moment, his sea of consciousness was boiling. Although the little furball was extremely resistant, he was under someone else's roof, well, he could only eat it. The dust ball in Su Yu's hand quickly disappeared. In the sea of consciousness, little hairy ball retched a few times. It was so disgusting. He wanted to vomit. Can you tell the smell the next time we meet? Only by eating the divine runes, and entering the sea of consciousness, can you tell the smell. That's good. Su Yu did not say anything. Sooner or later, he would have this opportunity. Whoever came to my house, who destroyed my house, who stepped on the photo of my father and I don't care what it was for, we will talk about it properly. This time, he was not prepared to do anything good. Nan Yuan might be the first breakthrough. In this day and age, what was the use of reason? Reason. This was my house. I did not allow it, and no one was allowed to come. But now, it was still a public toilet. He could come if he wanted to. So, it was better to be unreasonable.